Welcome back to the channel. This is Trendy Storm and you were watching first part of what if Naruto Kakashi and Guy accidentally goes to Attack on Titan universe. If you enjoyed this video, please like, share and subscribe to this channel. Now wasting no more time, let's start the story.
As he concluded trading blows with the quad made up of Guy, Kakashi, Naruto, and Killer Bee, Toby muttered, "That Uzumaki brat, he is really pushing me this far, isn't he?" In reference to Naruto, Guy remarked, "Haha, Kakashi, you have really brought up quite the youthful one." Indeed, Naruto was viewed as a demon by the villagers back home from the start, but he persisted in claiming that one day he would rise to the position of Hokage and win everyone's respect and admiration along the way to becoming a shinobi of the Hidden Leaf Village. He has learned a lot and made a lot of friends he never would have imagined. Indeed, Naruto was an exceptional ninja. The masked man in front of them was now the only thing standing between him and the shinobi world's hope for peace, and Naruto's only goal was to win. With the rest of his allies not far behind, Naruto charged towards Toby while flaming his Biju mode once more and exclaiming, "Alright, let's go Kurama." As they had previously come up with a plan, Naruto shouted his favorite technique, Kage Bushin no Jutsu, and left the clone behind with Kakashi. "Things won't look good for me with my 6 paths disabled," Toby thought as he kicked and dodged Naruto, who was preparing to crush him with a Kyuubi arm. Even a Sharingan would struggle to keep up with Guy's incredible taijutsu abilities, but Toby just let all of the strong punches and kicks get past him while he used Kamui. The assault didn't stop there. When the Gedo Mazo was still prone, B, in his full Biju form, charged at it from a considerable distance. He delivered a strong uppercut that sent it flying and then fell with a resounding crash. TCH, Toby scowled, aware that if this attack persisted, his trump card would become less effective. He swiftly accessed his Kamui realm and spat out enormous chakra rods, which he used to pin Killer Bee down by squeezing his chakra through his tails. He was aware of what needed to be done. He thought, "It's probably best if I started the ritual as soon as possible," as he used his battle fan to repel Guy and create an air wall around him. "What's this?" Toby asked, sensing a massive chakra spike close by, which belonged to Naruto, who was nearly fully charging a Biju Dama. Naruto yelled, "Take this, you bastard," as he hurled the massive chakra mass at Toby. Toby smirked to himself, "No matter what you do, nothing will change," and he just slipped into his Kamui realm, allowing the Biju Dama to safely pass through as it exploded. But just as his tone was about to shift, he noticed Naruto standing in front of him with a miniature Biju Dama in his hands. "What? How?" Toby exclaimed in alarm, realizing that now that the technique's secret was out, he was totally helpless. "Kakashi, you cunning dog, didn't you send his Kage Bushin into the Kamui realm?" Toby thought as he braced himself for the worst. "This cannot be avoided," Naruto pondered as he swiftly descended to Toby, who was helpless in midair. Naruto screamed, "Who the hell are you?" as he was about to slam the ball of chakra in his face but misjudged his trajectory and struck his chest squarely. The ball burst. Toby felt pain all over. He was sent hurtling back into reality as quickly as he had arrived, landing hard on a boulder with his mask severely damaged but still intact, much to Naruto's annoyance because he could now only see his forehead. Toby, on the other hand, appeared worse for wear since his robe was ripped off, exposing his scarred but well-defined chest area, and his entire midsection was critically damaged. He would have most likely perished right away if it weren't for his resilience and regeneration. Toby swore, gasping for air as his breathing became more irregular. "Damn you, Kakashi." "Good job, Kakashi, Naruto," exclaimed Guy. "You guys did a good job," Yuki said in B's subconscious while the chakra rods continued to hold them in place. "Ha, Kurama, we certainly proved ourselves." Subconsciously, Naruto spoke to his new partner. Kurama grinned as he transported him to the Gedo Mazo in a prone position. Toby uttered the words, "No way, it can't end like this." What on earth is he planning now? As he pursued the now weakened adversary, Kakashi thought. No, it can't end here," Toby thought as he slowly stood up. "I vowed to make a new world, one that is hateless and full of love, where true peace reigned." He connected to the Gedo Mazo using a probe that increased his chakra levels and regeneration, making a medium-paced recovery. "This world has no value," he thought. "This world isn't worth living in as long as she is dead." Rin, Toby thought sorrowfully. He looked at the heroes with a look of pure hatred, his brows furrowed when he formed a half-ram sign with his left hand, drawing a lot of chakra from the Gedo Mazo. He thought, "They won't stand in my way for my dreams." Toby thought to himself, "Infinite Tsukuyomi must be achieved." "Kamui!" Toby exclaimed as he looked at the group that was frighteningly fast approaching him. "What is this? Does he intend to transport us to that dimension?" This technique is drawing us in, and I can't stop it. Kakashi was terrified and did his best to cling to the closest area, but he was unsuccessful. Bakayaro Kanoyaro, I'm flipping and this idiot is trippin'. Even though Killer Bee was pinned down, he was gradually being drawn into the Kamui while in his Biju form. Naruto grunted, doing his best to avoid being drawn in. This world is going to drown in despair. As the group gradually began to vanish, Toby yelled, "See you later Uzumaki Naruto, child of prophecy," as Naruto, who was gradually losing consciousness with each passing second until everything went black, heard his final words. They had all vanished. All that remained was Toby and the Gedo Mazo, and the only sounds were the crashing of rocks and the stillness of the deserted plain. Toby collapsed onto one knee, a little tired. The familiar face of Uchiha Obito grinned as he sighed in triumph, believing the heroes were imprisoned in his Kamui realm. "It's over," Toby said, reaching for his mask before removing it. "I win." At last, victory was within his grasp, or so he believed. Even though Naruto had worse days, this one was by far the worst because he was startled awake by loud, thunderous thuds that occasionally rocked the ground. Slowly opening his eyes in an attempt to acclimate to the sunlight, Naruto saw Bee, Guy, and Kakashi nearby, all of them alert and wide awake, gazing into the distance. Naruto squirmed and said, This floor is uncomfortable," as he soon realized that they were all perched on one of the enormous limbs of a tree. A very tall one. In fact, Naruto was thankful to be alive, but he sensed a problem. He didn't feel at home here. Naruto shakes his head, waking up from his reverie and focusing on his superiors. Naruto said, "Oi, Kakashi-sensei, where are we exactly?" but was soon perplexed when Kakashi simply pointed into the distance. Naruto followed the direction his fingers indicated and looked out to the horizon as well, but his mouth fell open in complete confusion. Giants, merely enormous, humanoid-like beings that roamed around as they pleased. Nani? Naruto cried out in a hurry, unable to contain his shock. To be honest, whether it was talking ninja ostriches or giant animals, this was the most impressive thing you have seen so far. Kakashi's reaction caused him to perspire a little in an attempt to soothe him. Kakashi stood up, approached Naruto, and took a firm hold of his shoulder. "I see you're finally awake, Naruto? We were beginning to worry how long you would have been out, otherwise I'd let Guy carry you," Kakashi joked. With an overly enthusiastic demeanor, Guy responded, "But my eternal rival, no challenge is ever too great for me when it comes to strength." Kakashi winced as he recalled that one return trip from Sanagakure following the Cage rescue mission. "You?" shivered Kakashi. Kakashi jolted out of his reverie and focused on the group, remembering that some things are best left forgotten. Naruto recalled what it actually looked like inside and asked, "Aren't we supposed to be in his dimension? Are we under a genjutsu?" As he turned to face the other members of the group, Kakashi responded, "I thought so too at first, but as of now it seems very unlikely. Now that Naruto is awake, we should probably get going and cover some ground in finding a civilization of any sort. Don't want to stick around nightfall with these monsters around us," stated Kakashi. "Monsters? You mean the things below us?" asked a somewhat bewildered Naruto, looking down to see that the tree they were sitting on was indeed encircled by both large and small monsters. "They look like they want to eat you, which makes them revolting and disgusting." "Yes, unfortunately they seem to have a liking to human flesh, as they tried to clamp their jaws on Guy earlier when he was hopping around observing the area," Kakashi said. "They seem to get more sluggish as night falls, though. With this, I say we should get going once it reaches dusk," the group as a whole agreed. In a matter of hours, dusk finally arrived, and the group was now swiftly leaping past the now sluggish giants in search of civilization. Hopping from tree to tree at an inhumane speed, they chose to pause and rest for a few hours, take a soldier's pill, and resume their journey in a quarter of an hour. Only an hour later, in the moonlight, did they notice a gigantic wall that extended for miles and miles. "Because this is so amazing, I'm curious as to who constructed it themselves. Actually, this wall doesn't have a single brick in sight." How odd, Kakashi thought. How ingenuous, he thought, assuming that these walls were evidence of civilization and that they were designed to keep the monsters they had seen earlier out, to keep everyone safe. But he brushed such thoughts aside when he noticed a large, gaping hole along the wall, indicating that it had already been breached. "Okay, let's climb this wall quickly and get to the other side. And try not to attract any unwanted attention while we're at it. Please, we don't know whether the locals here are hostile or not. Stick to the shadows," Kakashi said, and the others nodded in agreement. The four shinobi immediately directed their chakra to the soles of their feet and ran frantically to the top. Arriving there in a matter of seconds, they were genuinely astounded by what they saw, because there were numerous walls that stretched across the area, giving the locals a secure environment in which to live. The shinobis quickly scowled as they peered down and saw the town below them torn apart and inhabited by these enormous monsters. Kakashi and his friends were able to see the next wall from a distance of miles, which gave them hope that there would be people on the other side, but they needed some rest because it was getting late and they were already tired. They would set out once more to reach the next wall at the crack of dawn tomorrow. In other places, tomorrow you will apply for your assignments, and today marks the end and the disbanding of the 104th trainee squad. Over, said the instructor. Sir, everybody said. The sun rose as the light slowly stretched across the horizon after a rather restless night. They're gonna become active again soon. Let's move. Hi. The four shinobis exclaimed as they crossed the horizon to the opposite side of the wall. One of the 10-meter giants stumbled upon the shinobis as it made its routine rounds inside this wall, which was moving at a rapid pace. A look of unrequited pleasure and laziness was plastered on its face, promising a terrible outcome if it ever came near you. The giant approached the shinobis at a slow but steady pace without hesitation. B exclaimed, Samahata, as the blade slithered off his back and into his combat-ready hands. With one swift motion, B was able to tear off the giant's right foot, sending the imposing giant to the ground as it was close enough to strike. That was fast. He thought he was about to sheathe Samahata, confident in his skills, when he became aware of an oddity. Smoke. Did he think something was burning? No, it isn't possible. He quickly returned his focus to the fallen giant, only to be shocked to see a new foot growing on the titan and its foot evaporating. You surprised me, yo. Although you ain't put in so much of show, fool ya fool, B sang. To the amazement of the shinobi, the titan took 30 seconds to fully regenerate its foot. The shinobi then swiftly leapt onto the rooftops of a nearby building and began to slowly get back up on its feet. B made the quick decision to attack once more, this time using Samahata with the intention of beheading the victim. With Samahata in hand, B leapt from the rooftop and hit the giant again, snatching its head off in the process. B exclaimed as soon as the decapitated head began to evaporate and a new head began to slowly form. B's excitement completely changed. The shinobis believed that nothing could possibly survive a beheading. The others agreed with Kakashi and ran back towards the walls. B, Guy, Naruto, we can't stay here for too long. We might add more unwanted attention. Let's leave while it's still down for the count, he said. As Eren stood along the tall walls today, his training finally came to an end. It will be the day when humanity finally strikes back, he thought joyfully. That, however, came to an abrupt end when a single yellow lightning bolt struck the ground and burst into a massive steam explosion, knocking the majority of the garrison and trainees off the wall. The enormous titan that caused a huge hole in Wall Maria 5 years ago, killing many people, including Eren's mother, came out as the smoke cleared. It kicked a hole into Wall rose again as fast as it had come. Eren called out to his fellow trainees, "Quick, everyone switch to your 3D maneuver gear," and they gladly complied. Our goal is directly in front of us. We can't allow the giant titan to escape, Eren exclaimed as he hurried back up onto the wall and faced the giant titan. Haven't seen you in 5 years, Eren remarked casually as the titan removed the row of cannons that were idly resting on the wall with a swing of its enormous arm. In the distance, Naruto joyfully cried out, "Hey, I think I see someone, Datbeo," as the group approached the wall. Although what they witnessed was unusual, they were somewhat relieved. It appears that the people who lived here traveled quickly by swinging across the deserted town while shooting wires out from their hips, but because they were so far away, they could all see that the figure was dressed in a brown top and white pants. They were about to approach the figure when an explosion rocked the area where he had been, blocking their view with smoke. As the smoke cleared, all they could do was watch with their mouths open, which made them hesitant to move. Suddenly, a 50-meter-tall giant appeared a short distance away and kicked a massive hole in the wall they were trying to reach. As he pieced together the puzzle of how the first hole appeared on the wall they passed much earlier, Kakashi thought, so that's what happened. Along the way, they came across everything from 4 meters to a terrifying 15 meters class, but this one just took the cake when they witnessed the enormous titan swoop its arms across the top of the wall and remove what appeared to be several mounted cannons. With caution, they saw a smaller figure interacting with the enormous titan. What the devil is thinking? They all silently pondered as they watched what would transpire. This person, like the last one they saw, was able to move around the giant like a fly to a person by shooting wires from his hip. He swiftly moved around to where the nape of the neck started to close in on his kill just as that person reached the titan's head. In fact, the shinobi thought this guy could pull it off, but they were dissuaded when the giant abruptly vanished into thin air. Do their weaknesses stem from the back of their necks? Kakashi gave it some serious thought until Guy gave him a back pat. Pointing to the huge hole in the wall where smaller giants were bursting through, the Guy youth yelled, "Kakashi, my eternal rival. We should go see what is happening and aid those in need. Kakashi let out a sigh. I guess it can't be helped, let's go. The shinobis then vanished in a flash and began swiftly climbing the wall until they reached the top. The next thing they saw was an entire sequence from a monster movie they had seen at home. People were being eaten in droves. Even the strongest people eventually broke down because it was such a gory scene. Even more of the giants were moving into the town as the shinobis peered down at them. Everyone, I have a theory I want to try out, Kakashi said, picking up what appeared to be a discarded blade that one of the soldiers had dropped. Stay here and watch. Before the giant even realized what had hit him, Kakashi swiftly sushioned away, stepped in front of it from behind the head, and sliced cleanly away the nape of its neck. After completing the task, Kakashi leapt onto a nearby roof and watched the giant he had just defeated go limp and crash to the ground, where it quickly began to evaporate. Kakashi remarked, well, at least clean-up duty will be much easier. As he observed the body of the fallen giant flatten out, he quickly returned to his allies and shared his findings with them. With all three of them shaking their heads, Kakashi said, Naruto, Guy, you two work on helping evacuating civilians while thinning out enemy ranks, while me and B go ahead and help the locals hold these monsters off. Any objections? Alright, scatter. A civilian woman, stranded in an alleyway with no way out, cried out, no, please don't. As a 13 meters class titan slowly made its way toward her, reaching its hands for his food. How did this happen? Why? Why? The woman cried. I guess this is it. She just sagged in terror, prepared to face her destiny, until Odama Rasengan. What the devil? After giving it some thought, the woman looked up again and was astounded by what she saw. When a young adolescent with orange blonde hair, no older than 17, collided with the titan's neck with a swirling blue ball of energy, it was successfully knocked back a considerable distance and killed. Lady, you should get out of here and evacuate with the rest of the people, the adolescent said coolly. After a few seconds, the woman, who was still processing what had just happened, snapped out of her daze and hurried to the evac site, but she soon stopped. She turned slowly and looked back at the boy. She asked, who are you? The boy smiled toothily at her. Uzumaki Naruto, at your service, he exclaimed, striking the good guy pose before running off to take on more titans. A unit of middle guard. Shit, there's just too many to handle at once. We're about to be overrun, yelled the random squad leader, warning his friends to flee. However, it appeared that fate was on his side today, because a nearby titan unintentionally grabbed hold of the squad leader and was ready to devour him when a flash of silver and a green blur quickly passed by the titan's neck. The squad leader wriggled out of the titan's grasp as soon as he felt it loosen, escaping before the titan hit the ground. Is it possible? Are reinforcements here yet? Has the Legion of Scouts returned? The man thought joyfully, but what he saw was not what he had anticipated. A man in blue, wearing a dark green flak jacket and a mask that blocked his face from the outside world, was standing in front of him. It's interesting to note that this man didn't look old and had silver hair, which was uncommon among their people. His mismatched eyes, his right was just black, while his left was blood red, were the most noticeable feature. With some fear, the man exclaimed, who the hell are you? Me? Oh, no one of interest. Hopefully, the masked rescuer said. Answer me. With a sigh, the man flashed his signature smiles. Hitaki Kakashi, how may I be of assistance? In front of the guard, a random soldier said to no one in particular, damn it, almost all of us are wiped out. Where reinforcements when we need some? Bakayaro Kanoyaro. All you ever gonna need is me, yo, said an enigmatic voice. Turning around, the soldier saw a dark-skinned man with shades, a white flak jacket with a single strap that extended over the shoulder, slicked back blonde hair, and an enormous bandaged sword being carried on his back. All in all, this man appeared far too unusual. He had never before seen a man with such dark skin. Now that he thinks about it, maybe he belonged to one of the extinct clans or tribes in those days. Now, though, none of that mattered. What are you doing here? Everyone is evacuating while you are just standing here like it's no one's business. Get a move on before the titans eat you, fool. Nah. That's Lord Eight Tails to you, fool. Ya fool. I don't have time for your games. Get out of here and... They're coming, exclaimed another soldier at random. Indeed, 6 more 10 meters class members just came out of the hole and began moving directly in the direction of the front guard squads that were still there. B yelled, step aside, fool. Don't try and be all cool, my rhymes are supreme and you're about to get creamed, as he charged the approaching titans. The soldier cried out, no wait, don't do it, but was ignored. Tailed Beast Transformation. Version 2 inches, we. The soldier was about to say, what are you, an idiot, you're just gonna When he noticed an odd red energy surround the newcomer before it abruptly exploded outward, what he saw was simply unbelievable. Some kind of blood-red beast flew through the air. Many men were uncomfortable and unable to understand what was happening because the very presence of this newly discovered energy felt so monstrous. Its 8 tails, which flailed widely in the air as the demonic-like creature tore through an approaching titan and successfully decapitated it, taking along the nape of the neck, were its most distinguishing feature. As he single-handedly prevented the invasion of incoming waves of titans coming through the hole, Killer Bee then simply bounced off from titan to titan, slashing off the nape of their necks with his claws. What is this man? Many of the soldiers in the area considered this, but they were more relieved that he was available to assist. The future of humanity appeared to be improving for the first time. At the gate for evacuation, when a large business owner decided that his products were more important than people's lives and attempted to force his overloaded cart of goods through a slightly smaller gate, things were looking dire for the evacuees. A civilian exclaimed, "Hey, what's going on? Are you sure you know what you're doing?" "Yeah, I know what the hell I'm doing. If you want to get out of these walls here sooner, help me push this cart through then, damn it," shouted the boss. "Don't be silly. No matter how hard you push it, the cart won't go through." "Yeah, people are supposed to go first. What are you thinking?" A civilian complained to a nearby garrison troop, "Soldier, bring order to this at once." But the man stumbled in terror from the stress. "Don't you dare try. I'm the head of the companies in this district. Who the hell thinks pay for the meals you shit out? Do you have the money to feed the soldiers to feed in this town?" The head of the company argued as he rallied more civilians to assist in pushing his valuable cargo. The man yelled, "Your pathetic lives aren't even worth what's half in this cargo. You wouldn't even have enough of a lifetime to make up for its worth. Help me and I'll show my gratitude." A considerable distance away, though, a titan slipped past the rearguard squad and was running toward the sizable contingent of civilians attempting to flee. "The titans. They'll be here within a minute. Then those of you who don't want to die, push. Please think of the children," one woman begged fervently. Shit. Why is it ignoring us and going for the civilians?" The soldiers urged, "It's too fast. We can't make it," as they pursued the titan, who was now only a few seconds from the wall. After arriving on the scene, Mikasa made the decision to act to save the civilians, but she was distracted by something else. A man was present, a green one I might add, too green. He was simply watching what was happening from the roof, but she was taken aback by what he did next. The man exclaimed, "Fifth gate of joy. Release," as a mysterious green aura burst forth from his body. Before you knew it, he had just vanished. Where did he go? Mikasa thought, but her thoughts were quickly interrupted when dynamic entry. Mikasa quickly returned her focus to the titan, who was now lying motionless on the ground after the enigmatic man appeared to have killed it with a bone-crunching flying kick to the back of the neck. Impossible, she reflected as she landed on a nearby roof. She said, "No human should be able to do such a thing." Upon closer inspection, the man appeared somewhat absurd: orange leg warmers, a green flak jacket, a green but hideous jumpsuit that not even the most sane person would wear, and a shiny bowl haircut that reflected a lot of light. His enormous, unkempt eyebrows were the most obvious feature. However, she couldn't get rid of the strange resemblance between her and him. Is it possible that she and he belonged to the same race that was exterminated some time ago? "Are you going to shit me?" As the man stepped off the dead titan and into the crowd of civilians, they cleared a path for him in awe or fear, many of the surrounding soldiers thought. A girl who looked to be no older than 7 yelled, "Thank you, mister," as she rushed up to give him a hug. The enigmatic green man merely grinned, ruffled her hair, and struck the good guy pose before making his way to the cart, which blocked everyone's path to escape. "Please move aside and let the people through," the green man told the group of men pushing the cart. As the company head denigrated the people once more, the newcomer frowned. "No way. My cargo is worth more than any of these shitheads standing around here. If you want to live, help me push it through," I said. After giving it more thought, he was simply perplexed by how avaricious this man was to stuff his cart full of stuff and value his material belongings more than his fellow soldiers. A loud crash could have been heard as the cart was kicked by the man and sent through the gate and down the street. "Who do you think is going to clean that up, you idiot? Everything would have been looted by the time I got there," yelled the now irate head of the company. Just as he let his murderous intent fly into the air, the now stoic green man shot him a glance that would have sent many men reeling to their feet. The sheer pressure caused one of the local thugs to curl up in a corner and throw up. Images of his impending death flashed through his mind, almost bringing him to his knees. What is this?" the company head asked fearfully. Those who don't think of their comrades first are simply trash. No one wants to remember you are no better than those monsters ravaging out there who are taking the lives of brave men and women fighting to protect people like you, said the newcomer who chose to stop his murderous intent on the man. The large crowd quickly dispersed through the gate and to the safety of the inner walls after the man, who was now allowing his words to sink in, said, "I'm sorry everyone, please let us all go now to safety." The only person standing where he was, staring at the green newcomer, was the company head. When the aforementioned man turned around, he asked, "What is your name?" "I am Konoha's beautiful green beast, made a guy," the green man said, grinning again in his good guy pose as he faced the company head. "Thank you, I shall spread words of your heroic deeds," was said as the man turned off, moved to the other side of the wall for safety, and vanished. The soldiers on the nearby roofs witnessed everything and were astounded that such a man existed. They wanted to ask some questions, but they knew they had a duty to fulfill. Raising everyone's spirits, Guy exclaimed, "Yash, evacuation was a success. My friends, let us all now focus on ridding these monsters in this town." "Yeah," the other soldiers exclaimed confidently. When Mikasa realized she could finally meet Eren to help him in battle, her thoughts, which she had been silently observing, moved elsewhere. A squad number 34, which included Eren, Armin, and other trainees, was sent out on a mission a while back. They used their 3D equipment to navigate the streets until a deviant-class Titan devoured Thomas. The Titan threw itself into the air like a frog and devoured the poor trainee. Everything went wrong from there because Eren's anger to exact revenge clouded his judgment. Instead, he was distracted by a Titan chomping off his foot, causing it to crash into a nearby roof. The rest of the squad wasn't doing too well after that, as they were also ensnared in the Titan's grasp. Armin was left standing on the roof, helpless to do anything but watch in horror as his allies were devoured. "Why can't I move? Why am I just standing here watching my comrades get eaten like this?" Armin thought, paralyzed with fear. When a bearded Titan in the area saw Armin, it just picked him up and put him in its mouth. Armin exclaimed, "Ah!" as he slid down a Titan's jaws and extended his hand outside, but the end never arrived. He looked up to see Eren pulling the Titan out and throwing him to the nearby roof while trying his best to keep his jaws open. Eren reached for Armin's hand while holding up the Titan's jaws, saying, "Armin, you taught me about the outside world and I want to see it for myself." Armin, with tears streaming down his cheeks, said, "Eren, quickly," and extended his arm forward, urging Eren to leap. The Titan slammed its jaws down, severing Eren's arm as their hands reached for each other, which was only a few feet away. Eren's arm just fell to the ground, lifeless and limp. Armin exclaimed, "Rahhhhh." In desperation, Mikasa feels uneasy as she gazes into the distance in another scene. Akane, a young trainee who graduated in Armin's class, yelled, "Oi! Armin! Armin! Wake the hell up! I asked you what happened to your team." Armin just awoke from his daze and just held his head, unable to speak, while he screamed in agony and thought about how worthless he was. Armin. "Hey, get a hold of yourself." Ymir, a trainee, interrupted, saying, "Enough, it's obvious that the rest of his team is dead. I can't exactly tip my hat to Ren and to the rest that they had to save this guy, one of the most less competent of all of us." Connie yelled, "Enough," as he and Ymir began to quarrel. Armin grabbed himself at this point and declared, "I'm going to join rearguard," before he took off in his 3D gear, the others trailing closely behind. Ajin, another trainee from the 104th Squad, grumbled, "Damn it, those cowards barricading themselves at HQ cut off all gas supplies, leaving us for dead." Although the trainees could fight the Titans on their own, their chances of surviving were decreasing due to a lack of supplies. Almost all of the trainees watched HQ being overrun by Titans while perched on the roofs. Annie, a fellow trainee, said, "Reiner, what now?" "Nothing. Let our men gather first," he answered. After several minutes, the rearguard troops, who were also running low on supplies, finally arrived on the scene. Curious about what was going on, Armin, who was slouched on the roof, felt a wave of dread wash over him as he saw Mikasa and a man wearing green clothing. "Oh no, Mikasa is here. What am I going to tell her?" Armin pondered sorrowfully. Mikasa turned to face a tearful Armin and said, "Armin, are you injured? Where's Eren?" Sniff sniff. In the trainees squad number 34, our team Tomas Wagner, Nak Tees, Milius Ziermuski, Mina Caroline and Eren Jaeger fell bravely on the line of duty. Armin sobbed to Mikasa and the other trainees, who were taken aback. "No way, much of squad number 34 have been obliterated." A nearby trainee asked, "So this is what happened when we take a Titan head-on?" "I'm sorry, Mikasa, I couldn't do a thing. Eren sacrificed himself for me, I'm sorry," said Armin. When Mikasa heard these news, she was devastated. She had long since discovered that this world was both beautiful and cruel, but she still felt chilly without Eren. Mikasa was about to speak up in an attempt to reassure Armin when. Friends. You will see your comrades die on the battlefield. It is sad, but that is the truth. Turn that death into another's life you will save. Got that, rookies? The youngster in green pleaded. Everyone, we are soldiers now. We will not leave a comrade behind to carry a burden alone. Let's go, you spineless cowards. Jean, who had been on the verge of despair earlier, roared as he made his way to headquarters. Sasha Browse went to follow Jean's lead and left, taunting her. Yeah, you're all nothing but cowards. Reiner said, hey, didn't see that coming, as he and his team prepared to leave as well. A random soldier said, bloody hell, let's do it, as he and other soldiers began to leave for headquarters. Rua hhhhhhhhh, exclaimed the numerous soldiers who were regaining their will to fight as they left as well. Guy grinned and said, the will of fire burns brightly within all of them, as he followed them into the air. Because Mikasa was acting carelessly, she depleted all of her gas and fell to the hard ground. Mikasa! Exclaimed Armin, worried. Why hadn't I noticed the gas issue earlier? I am losing my family, and it is happening again. Do I have to begin again? This place is cruel. It's both beautiful and cruel. Mikasa, a titan, appears from a nearby building. She was about to give up when she thought, I've had a good life. Fight. Fight. In her mind, she heard a tiny voice and knew it was Eren's. She stood up once more, ready to use her small blade to fight a fat 15 meters class. I apologize, Eren, but I promise never to give up. I will live no matter what it takes, because if I die, I won't be able to remember you. Ha! Unaware of the new arrival, Mikasa screamed as she lunged towards the approaching titan. Standing on a distant rooftop, Guy was in awe of such determination to help a fellow female soldier no matter how dire the circumstances were until. Bam! The titan who was trying to kill Mikasa was punched and knocked down by a new titan with a powerful physique, shaggy hair that fell down part of its face, and pointed ears to match. As Mikasa watched the new titan defeat its opponent, she thought in amazement, a titan attacking another titan. This is just unheard of. Yet very uplifting. It's as if humanity rage has been manifested into this being right here. Mikasa. Connie arrives a few seconds after Armin yells from behind, swiftly picking her up with his 3D equipment and taking them both to the roof. This is terrible. 2 titans of the 15 meters class, Connie swore. When the novice titan faces another 15-meter class, he adopts a fighting stance, shocking the 3 trainees who have been watching the entire time by decapitating the other 15-meter class in a single blow. Get down! As the approaching decapitated head crashes into a nearby building, Connie yells in alarm as he and his friends manage to avoid it. The newcomer titan then kills the enemy titan with a single, swift stomp to the nape of its neck. Did I just aim for the deadly blow, or is it me? Was it intentional? Asked Armin. Mikasa retorted, no, it seemed to have the basics of hand-to-hand combat. It doesn't matter now, we should get out of here, Connie replied. Jean told no one in particular, TCH it's no use, as the headquarters was encircled. Jean is alerted to another trainee who has just run out of gas and is surrounded by titans when he hears a scream nearby. Oh no, it appears that he has run out of gas, Jean thought. Ah. The trainee screamed as he was now encircled and in the titan's firm grasp. Tom. Let's go assist him, a soldier nearby told his friend. No, don't. That's too late now, Jean yells in an attempt to stop them. Huh? The trainees were unable to keep up with the enigmatic figure as a blur of flashing blue and green swept past them and struck down the titans one by one. A man with a mask covering his face and what looked like lightning on his hands stood as the final titan fell. As he continued to try to gauge the situation, Jean thought, who is this guy? Looks like I arrived just in time, the man said. Jean thought, it doesn't matter now, we need to get those supplies. All right, everyone, Jean gave the order as he used his 3D gear to swing away, with the rest of his teammates following in his wake. I'm grateful, stranger, thanked the rescued trainee as he was taken to safety by his fellows, leaving the masked man behind. Alongside Jean. In order to reach headquarters, the squadron was now swinging wildly across the streets past a number of titans. One even managed to seize Jean's foot before he severed its finger in order to flee, then crashed through the window of headquarters with his fellow survivors in tow. Some, however, were not as fortunate and were devoured by the titans as soon as they were discovered. How many of us made it out alive? How many people died on my signal? Jean asked Marco, a longtime friend. Jean asked remorsefully. but his thoughts were stifled when he noticed trainees hiding beneath the desks to his right. "You are a member of the supply squad, correct?" Jean questioned unsteadily. The trainee replies quietly, "Yeah," but Jean snatches his shirt and gives him a face sock. "Jean, halt!" Holding his friend back, Marco yelled. "They're to blame. We were hung out to dry by them, you asshole. So many people died pointlessly," Jean yelled at the trainee. "The supply rooms were invaded by some titans. There was nothing we could do," another trainee who was tending to her friend sobbed. "You ought to have done some research. The job description includes it," Jean, who was unrelenting in his abuse of the young trainees, roared. "Get under cover," a trainee near a window yelled, but a moment later, a titan smashed his head through the wall, scattering debris and making everyone rush away from the walls. As titans began to assemble and gape through the freshly created hole in the wall, Jean thought, "Bloody hell, too many people gathered in one spot. Go. Enter now. We can't all leave at once. Where is Mikasa?" A while back, she ran out of gas. The titans most likely devoured her. "It's only natural. I guess it's time for a reality check," Jean thought as soldiers dashed past him to the exits. "What kind of illusion or dream are we living in? This is reality, and I should have known better," Jean thought, prepared to give up as he peered through the hole and saw two enormous faces staring back at him. When you look at it normally, it's easy to understand we can't possibly expect to win against anything that big. All of a sudden another titan's enormous fist shot through the air, violently knocking back the titans looking through the hole in the wall. "RROAARRGGHHHH. The rookie titan roared. Three new arrivals, Connie, Armin, and Mikasa, crashed through two windows on the next wall, shattering and breaking them like Jean had done earlier. "Mikasa? That was close. It's empty now," Connie said, gesturing to his gas tanks. "You're still alive," Jean said, looking surprised. "Armin, we succeeded. Your plan was successful," Connie happily said, patting Armin in the back hard much to his despise. "Everyone. Given that it only kills other titans. That one over there is strange. It also doesn't seem to care about us." Reluctantly, Connie tells the other trainees about the plan. "Looking to a titan for assistance?" Jean remarked. "That sounds like something that can only occur in a dream. Whether it's special or not doesn't matter to me, really. If we allow it to continue running amok around here, this is our best chance of survival for the time being," Mikasa says monotonely. "Sounds like a good plan," an enigmatic voice remarked. As all of the trainees returned their focus to the enormous hole in the wall, three individuals leapt through it and entered their location. "Hold on, you or someone I know. One of the strangers who showed up out of the blue and assisted in thwarting the Titan invasion is you." Pointing to them with excitement, a soldier said. The crowd murmured as they heard tales of men who appeared out of nowhere with enigmatic abilities that allowed them to defeat the Titans standing in front of them with just their bare hands. Who are these people and why are they here? Most people asked. The majority of the soldiers in the room were shocked when Kakashi calmly explained, "I am Hitaki Kakashi, and my subordinates Naruto and Guy," pointing to them, "have helped with the invasion, and one of our comrades is currently at the front lines holding off most of the Titans. We understand you need to resupply, but let us make it quick as this plan is totally not foolproof," he added. "We will answer any questions you have for us later, but for now let's get moving," Kakashi promised, and the majority of the trainees merely nodded. "Let's start working," outside the headquarters. With a loud and powerful battle cry, the enigmatic special Titan roared outside the building, catching one Titan in a joint lock that effectively swept it off its feet and caused it to crash into two smaller Titans that perished instantly in the impact. Slowly, it turned toward two more incoming 15 meters class Titans. "Rua ARRGGGHHHH, inside headquarters." One soldier reassured them, "It's okay. The Titan fighting outside is stronger than its normal peers. As long as it keeps ravaging outside, the building will be safe. Plus, we have some really strong people here with us," one soldier added hastily. "How much do you know about that Titan?" Reiner asked Connie as the other soldiers started talking to each other. "Who gives a damn? We were saved by it," he said. Reiner looked at the three shinobis nearby, Maeda Guy, Kakashi Hitaki, and Naruto Uzumaki, and said, "Hey, true enough, saving us is the first step. What makes these guys so powerful?" Reiner asked, looking at them with concern and a hardened expression. "What's this feeling?" asked Naruto abruptly. The doors opened, revealing a few returning members of the squad. "Okay. We found some supplies under policeman control, but they are rather dusty," said a returning soldier as he began distributing ammunition and firearms to all in the room. "Oh, I do recall these. The guards at the blood prison had one of these, Naruto recalled. Seriously? This is the guy who took down numerous titans without breaking a sweat? Thought some soldiers, as Naruto joyfully exclaimed as he began to point the dangerous metal boom stick around in a childlike manner. Kakashi reprimanded Naruto, saying, "You know, this isn't exactly the time to play." "I apologize, Datbeo, I got carried away, heh." As he studied the weapon in silence, Kakashi pondered, "But you wonder why you're still a genin?" Yes, there were guns in his world, but they were very unpopular because of the way the shinobis fought. Sure, they were great for frontal assaults in an army, but the main issue was that they took a long time to reload, whereas if one didn't pay attention, they could be showered with exploding kunais or shurikens in a matter of seconds. Are these guns really capable of firing our bullets? Are guns really that helpful? Jean asked to a titan. What difference would it make? Now Armin made the decision to speak. I guess it's better with them than without. With this amount of firepower at our disposal, we can blind all of the 3-4 meters class titans in the room below at once, Armin said, explaining the plan to everyone. In order to attract all the titans, they would first load at least 14 people onto a lift. 7 more would then hang on the ceiling tops and wait for the signal to strike them all down simultaneously when the titans are blinded by gunfire. Not a bad plan, Kakashi said, to consider this with such few men and resources. Kakashi recalled Shikamaru, the smartest but most lazy member of Konoha 11, and remarked, "You would be a great tactician." Is my plan really the best option? It's not all that great. Concerningly unsure of himself, Armin questioned. All I'm doing is just dumping the burden on my comrades' shoulders. There will be times when everything won't go as planned, Armin said, turning to see that Guy had placed a hand on his shoulder. But for now, this is your best bet. Everyone behind Guy grinned warmly and approvingly as he said, "Your comrades believe in you, so you should believe in them too." All right, now let's begin. With renewed self-confidence, Armin declared. Hey, titans of the 3 to 4 class, Reiner remarked rather arrogantly. We'll just have to aim for their weak spot, as his group descended the stairs to position themselves for the plan. But without any of our movement gear, Connie retorted. Forget the size, guys, we'll just have to work out our way from head down to the neck. In any case, just shove these up their ass if everything else fails. Reiner jokingly pointed to his blades and said, that is the second of one of their only weaknesses. Not at all. I had no idea that was an option, said an intrigued Connie. Jean grimly added, careful Reiner, those may be your last words. Give it a moment. What happened to them? Sasha scanned her surroundings. Who? Of course, the 3 new guys. As she spoke, the team as a whole looked around them, but found nothing. A worried Reiner remarked, I could have sworn they were right behind us minutes ago. Oh well, let's go anyways, he said as the group proceeded toward their destination, oblivious to the shadows that lurked above and all around them. Kakashi-sensei, do you think they'll be all right? Naruto inquired. It is imperative that they work on this for their own benefit. If something goes wrong, we'll step in if necessary, as the 3 of them retreated into the shadows to follow the group without being noticed. Kakashi said to Naruto, we can't always fight their battles for them. Armin's group just boarded the elevator and is currently descending to what feels like an elevator to hell, waiting to see what awaits them below. Meanwhile, 7 4 meters class titans wandered aimlessly beneath everyone, one even gnawing on a post for heaven's sake. All right, there aren't any more of them. Let's move forward with the plan, Armin thought. All of the titans turned their hideous faces in their direction with a hungry expression as soon as the group on the lift was visible, frightening some of the soldiers. Slow down. Allow them to close completely, Marco told his fellow soldiers. The group was becoming more tense as seconds stretched into what seemed like minutes. One of them was holding his gun a little unsteadily, but he was able to collect himself. Wait. With each step, the titans got closer. Wait. Men began to perspire heavily as the tension in the air increased. Wait. Ready. By now, the titans were within arm's reach. Fire. As soon as the guns went off, other trainees from the ceiling tops leapt off and slashed at the titan's nape of the neck with their blades. Only 5 out of 7 trainees were killed, while Connie and Sasha failed to dispatch their titans. At this point, the titans have recovered and turned to face the trainees who fell to the ground after their failed attacks. Marco signaled as the rest of the squad effectively discharged their rounds into the titans' eyes before their eyes would fully regenerate. Connie and Sasha are in danger. Support them, Marco shouted as a panicked Mikasa ran wildly in their direction. As the titan approached her from behind, Sasha shook and stammered in terror. Ahem, I know that I jumped behind you and all an S struck you F from behind, and that was dreadfully impolite. I'm really sorry. As Connie backed up against a wall with nowhere to flee, Sasha ducked a dive attack from the approaching Titan. Reikiri. Rasengan. As the Titans simply fell limp and dead, a loud electric chirping and a crunching sound filled the room. One Titan's nape was sliced both cleanly and deeply, while the other's was crushed disfiguringly. Naruto and Kakashi, who still had his hand lightly brid of blue cackling lighting, were standing atop the Titans. Is everyone okay? As he saw a female trainee with teary eyes hurrying toward him, Kakashi asked. Kakashi. You have saved my life. Sasha sobbed uncontrollably and, much to the chagrin of a masked nin, embraced her savior in a bear hug. Oh, are you hurt? With his lone eye displaying all of his emotion, a displeased Kakashi asked. No. Thank you. Sasha, who clung to Kakashi like a lifeline, sobbed uncontrollably. Then please let go, was Kakashi's response. He made an unsuccessful attempt to push himself free of the girl's hold as she clung even more tightly, sobbing into his flak jacket. Connie said, thanks, I owe you one, to which Naruto cheerfully replied, no problem, adding that, you guys didn't do bad yourselves. You guys arrived here when? Remembering that he and his group were the only ones on the ceiling tops, Reiner asked. We tend to stick to the shadows, Naruto said, grinning broadly. Reiner grinned back at him, saying, these guys they sure keep things interesting. Everyone has fallen for the count, one soldier applauded. At last, we can replenish, Jean exclaimed joyfully. We succeeded. While the others applauded and rejoiced over the success of their operation. Okay, let's take it all at once, one soldier proposed. Hi, they are no longer coming in, another soldier cried out. That's because of the one going crazy outside, was another person's direct response. Yes, we did make it at last, we have an opportunity to reach safety, the soldiers cheered. Sasha overreacted and said, I can't believe I yielded to a Titan, I can never look anyone in the eye ever again. Yeah, whatever later, we'll all despise you, let's go for the time being. Connie answered as he and the other squads leapt out the windows and used their 3D maneuver gear to expertly swing through obstacles. Guy, Naruto Kakashi replied, we should keep following them, and they nodded before running out the window like everyone else, but as they stepped outside, they noticed something that caught their attention. The special Titan was pinned against a wall and being eaten by other Titans. Mikasa, who made her way to the top of the building she was in, saw this as well as the shinobis. Mikasa. What more secrets do these guys hold? Armin asked himself as he made the decision to meet up with them and Mikasa on top of the building using his 3D gear just above him. The shinobis made a high and quick jump to the wall normally. This wasn't surprising because even the most basic soldier can maneuver his way anywhere, but these guys were just throwing tricks out of the bag left and right as they simply stuck to the wall with their feet and started running up it all the top. Mikasa. We'd better leave this place, a worried Armin said. Mikasa pointed and said, look at that Titan over there. Armin was even more shocked when he saw the Titans devouring the unique Titan as it roared in agony in his vision, which followed the spot Mikasa had indicated. Cannibalism? Armin asked in surprise. Armin was starting to doubt reason when he said, come to think of it, I've seen my friends die, people jumping and running as fast as us without 3D gear, and people walking on walls, so why am I even surprised? He then returned his focus to reality. It should be regenerating by now, but it's not, Armin observed while the other Titans kept eating it. We could probably improve this situation if we could figure out what's going on with that Titan. It was a great opportunity, but unfortunately, Mikasa remarked glumly. I agree. Reiner shouted in agreement, we wouldn't know if we allowed that Titan to be eaten. We ought to eliminate every Titan holding onto it, he proposed. Hey, Reiner. Are you crazy? We've just managed to get our heads above the water, Jean shouted. This Titan may prove to be a friend. What about that? It would be a more potent weapon than any cannon, Annie remarked, appearing uninterested. An ally? Are you serious? Jean shuddered. The shinobis, on the other hand, were keeping a low profile while watching and listening in on the trainees. Kakashi, who was the most perceptive of them all, could already sense that something was wrong with the Annie girl. Takedo's note to watch her later. Armin immediately recognizes the deviant class Titan that emerges in the nearby distance. Oh, I am aware of that one. Tomas was eaten by the deviant, Armin affirmed. The special Titan that was currently pinned down let out a powerful roar as it broke free from the other Titan's hold and charged at the recently arrived deviant class, losing its arms in the process. Rua Air. Another nearby 15 meters class approached the special Titan, prepared to feast on its flesh as well, but was met by a flying Titan's body, which sent both of them crashing into a building. The special Titan roared its battle cry before charging. chomping down on the deviant's neck and then lifting it up in the air and throwing it around like a rag doll, killing it. "Hi, who did you wish to save once more?" After seeing such a horrific scene, Jean made a joke. Now, as if to declare its victory, the last Titan still alive let out one last, powerful roar before abruptly dropping dead. "Oh, it ran out of juice, as was to be expected," Jean remarked. "It's no big deal now, is it? We're going." Even the shinobis were observing as Jean slowly began to leave, completely oblivious to the fact that everyone was staring at the fallen body of the Titan. With his back to everyone else, Jean remarked, "There's no way we could an ally of such a freak. A Titan is after all a Titan," he said as he eventually turned to face his allies. Jean tried to get their attention by saying, "Hey," but instead followed the direction of their eyes. Jean's eyes, like everyone else's, widened abruptly. Mikasa was the only one who was most shocked because Eren, her longtime childhood friend, had just emerged from the Titan's body, more precisely, the nape of the neck. She snapped out of shock and went straight to Eren, catching him before he could fall, and then she sobbed uncontrollably, letting out a cry of joy that was slightly tinged with sadness. Wah! As the shinobis and other trainees came down from the building to take a better look, Mikasa sobbed while holding Eren's unconscious body. "Eren, that arm and leg got cut off back then, now they're back then the Titan swallowed you whole," Armin thought to himself as he approached Eren, reaching for his hands and threatening to cry. What on earth went wrong? As tears streamed down his face and he started to cry, Armin spoke while holding Eren's hands tightly with his own. Guy made the decision to speak up at this point. "So your youngest comrade did all of this then?" As he and the soldiers watched the path where the Eren killed and devastated numerous Titans, with bodies scattered almost everywhere, Guy jokingly spoke up. A Kakashi took charge of the situation after deciding it was time to leave. "Hey, let's get going." The rest of the squad agreed with him when he said, "We're still not safe here," and they started to head for the inner walls in search of safety. However, they were stopped in their tracks by a group of men who were carrying both guns and blades. "Trainee Eren must remain here in order to protect humanity. But the rest of you were dismissed and told not to talk about this incident ever again." A brown-bearded man who was a garrison captain gave the order. By now, only Mikasa, Armin, and the three enigmatic newcomers remained who would not leave, but the majority of the trainees were reluctant at first but had to obey orders as they left Eren's side to go to the barracks where they would rest and meet up with other soldiers. "If you disobey my commands, you are betraying humanity. Such a penalty can even result in death. Do you hope for such a destiny?" the garrison captain shouted. "You think you're who, the devil? You're just going to throw him away like garbage after he's done nothing but defend humanity by fighting the Titans?" yelled Naruto, who was unusually quiet up until now, where he showed his more serious side rather than happy. "He's your comrade. How could you harm him in this way?" "Young man, what do you mean?" stoically, the captain asked. "Your lies are exposed to me. Don't you want to murder him right now?" Naruto yells, startling both Armin and Mikasa. Normally, Kakashi would chastise Naruto for allowing his emotions to interfere with his work, but this was an exception, so he chose to let Naruto proceed while cautiously watching for any abrupt movements from the troops surrounding them. He also decided it was best to pull out his Sharingan, revealing the blood red, just in case anything went wrong, while Guy was prepared to assume his battle stance. "Well, you can't have him." With Eren on his back, Naruto yells as he swiftly grabs Eren and flees down the wall, clinging to its side. "Hey, Eren!" As they both followed Naruto, Mikasa and Armin both yelled in a panic. "Go after those guys, you four. Detain these two strangers," the captain commanded as he prepared to join the pursuit. Before taking off in his 3D gear, the captain gives his last orders. "Okay, you're joining us, UWAH, the soldier stammered, but Guy cut him off mid-sentence with a quick chop to the neck, rendering him unconscious. "Why are you so little, huh?" As he and his friend's world began to fade into darkness, the soldier said, and then they all stood there, expressionless, until they noticed a flash of red in the masked man's eye. "Oh, now that's done. We ought to make sure Naruto stays out of trouble, don't we, Guy?" Kakashi said, putting his headband back over his left eye. "My eternal rival, you are well aware of the solution," Guy answered before they both vanished in a flash. Even though he was carrying a dead weight, Naruto was moving fairly quickly, but Mikasa and Armin eventually caught up to him. Garrison troops were waiting to arrest them behind them, and they were eventually cornered between Wall Rose and the Trost district wall. Trapped in his delusions, Eren muttered, "More I want to kill, more I'll kill em dead," with an uneasy smile. "Eren!" a voice yelled. "What?" Eren said, waking from his reverie to discover that he was surrounded by soldiers and that Mikasa and Armin, as well as an enigmatic individual wearing orange clothes and appearing to be only a little older than him, were protecting him. The newcomer remarked, "I see you're finally awake from your nap." "Eren," Mikasa exclaimed, relieved that her friend was all right. "Hey, Eren. Are you able to move around? Are you completely awake?" Armin asked, anxiously awaiting his response. "Armin?" Eren remarked doubtfully. "You hear that? He said he was gonna kill us?" "Yeah, kill them dead," he said. "Yes, everyone heard. I think he's referring to us." Soldiers began chatting among themselves. One soldier said, "He intends to kill and eat us," which greatly perplexed Eren. "Wait," Eren thought. "What are they talking about? Why are they surrounding us with those blades? Last time I checked, they were made to kill titans. Why are they looking at me like that?" Before quickly focusing on his limbs. Eren thought, "No way, what I just saw was just a dream, right? I still got my arm attached," until he noticed the ripped clothes that the titan had bitten off much earlier. "What the?" he thought. "Eren, the trainee. I see you have finally woken up. You four appear to be traitors to humanity based on your actions," the captain yelled. "I will therefore have to make a decision regarding how we should end your lives. Try to pull any tricks or you're going to be eating explosives if you leave that spot," shocked the Eren. "We'll shoot without hesitation," the captain declared as the four of them glanced off into the distance and saw a cannon pointed at them, ready to fire at the signal. "Let me get right to the point. Are you a person? Or titan?" As his men tensed up for a moment, the captain asked. Eren was even more perplexed. "What kind of question is that? Why are they glaring at me like that?" he asked. "It's as if they're looking at some kind of freak. Am I a freak then? Is that what you mean?" "I fail to understand the meaning of your question, sir," Eren answers. The captain stiffened. "Are you trying to make me look foolish? Goddamn freak. Try it again." The captain roared back. "We'll dust you there and then. There won't even be time for you to take on your actual form," the captain provoked. Many people witnessed what transpired. "They watched you emerge from that titan from right there." The captain explains to the group that he had the right to quickly eliminate all threats, even if they were troops that the king himself had approved. "I'll blow you away to kingdom come," threatened the captain. "On this one, sir, our defensive approach is obvious except for that orange one over there. None of them will be able to provide us with any useful information," one female soldier said. "As you said, it's just a waste of our time and forces. We can easily get rid of him if we take him down right away. While he is still assuming human form, let's capture him." An increasing number of soldiers frantically agreed and said, "Enough." Everyone stopped and stared at the orange newcomer, who was now defensively positioned in front of the trio. For a few seconds without saying anything, it was so quiet that one could hear a pin drop from where they were. How could this man do this to a comrade? Naruto was furious at this man's remarks. Yeah, he understands their suspicion, but he should have been given the benefit of the doubt. The looks these people were giving Eren were very similar to those he had received as a child back home, and he couldn't just stand by and let this happen. Naruto swore icily, "Get any closer and I'll clobber you all," releasing a hint of demonic Kyuubi chakra that made the atmosphere around him tense. "What's this sensation?" one soldier wonders as he starts to feel sick to his stomach and weak in the knees. Some stepped back in fear, threatening to soil themselves, while others thought, "I never felt so scared in my life by just one guy." Only a handful, including the captain, managed to hold their ground, but the terror in their eyes did not waver. Rather, it only grew stronger as they saw visions of a gigantic fox-like creature envelop the young man in front of them, roaring with a mighty roar that would have made any titan blush. "You are similar to him. Another freak," blurted out the captain as he grew more tense with every passing second. "Eren, I'll ask you again, are you a titan or a human?" Eren gave this question a lot of thought, and he considered his friend's safety as well as his own mortality if he gave a poor response. "I'm human." The air was silent. Mikasa maintained a straight face the entire time while Naruto glared at the man. "I see," the captain replied, wearing a grim expression. "Please don't resent me for this," the captain said grimly as he raised his hand to start the signal, much to Ren and Armin's horror. With a hand raised high in the air, the captain concluded, "We have no other choice, you see. No man have ever been in the position to see the evil within their own hearts. Please forgive me," as the cannon squad noticed the ready signal. Naruto turned his head to smile at them and said, "Stay behind me, guys, in a protective manner. I swear on my ninja way, you will get out of this safely," he said. From that point on, time seemed to slow down for Eren as Mikasa swiftly grabbed him and Armin planned to use her 3D gear to escape up the wall suddenly. Eren noticed a flash of brass-colored metal and realized it was a key wrapped around his neck like a necklace. It was then that he remembered his dad's promise to show him what was in the basement the entire time. Why am I suddenly remembering this? Eren asked himself as the captain's hand finally dropped, signaling for the shot to be fired. There was silence. Nothing took place. What's happening? With Eren's group wondering the same thing, the captain asked no one in particular. Only Naruto looked directly at the captain, not even bothering to move. Did he know this was going to happen? Armin asked. Captain. A soldier brandishing a spy scope was informed. The cannon squad has been rendered inoperable, shocking numerous other soldiers in the area. The captain questioned, who did it? Another traitor. As the soldier gave him a spy scope so he could see for himself, he asked. As the captain's eyes widened, he noticed that the 4 individuals assigned to the cannon were tied up, unconscious, and that 2 people were leaning on the cannon, waiting to see what would happen next. Down to where he was. One man was completely dressed in green, and the other wore a blue mask with a headband covering one eye, reading a small orange book at the time. The man in the mask closed it, gave the people below a thumbs up, as if he was aware that he was being watched, and then picked up his book again. How dare they make fun of us? The now furious captain thought. Dude. Charge ye. Given that they must be captured immediately, the captain gave the order in a firm voice. It's only 4 people against an entire squadron, they thought as they drew closer with their blades, and the only thing standing between them and their target was the orange-blonde knucklehead. Despite their initial hesitation, many found the courage to follow the order. Naruto thought, haha, how about we give them another big scare, Kurama? HMPH, witnessing your kind soil in action is always entertaining. Yes, why not? Kurama agreed, while Naruto grinned mischievously. Naruto stood motionless with his eyes closed, only a few meters from soldiers. Hee as he started his charge, a soldier in the rear muttered, that looked easier than I thought. What the? Some soldiers noticed the orange ninja's new form as strange symbols and designs appeared from his body, giving it an ancient appearance. However, nobody anticipated what happened next. The orange ninja began to have a golden aura surround him until it completely engulfed him. As it let out its powerful roar, the golden aura changed once more and burst outward, resembling the head of a gigantic golden kitsune. Gra-erg. The head roared, sending a small shockwave that sent soldiers flying back a good distance. Some of them crashed into other soldiers or hit the floor hard. In other places. Get ready for the unexpected lariat. B effectively knocked back another titan as she charged at it. Hello. B, are the others okay, in your opinion? With all these titans wandering around, it is pretty chaotic, Yuki stated. There is a limit to how long we can keep them off without causing any collateral damage. These folks go swing, go with the flow. Please, Naruto is incredibly strong. Don't worry, there's no need to rush. Yes, B rapped. When the world and its people are on the verge of extinction, you choose to continue rapping even though it's the worst time to do it, in reference to B's Enka rapping style, Yuki said. I just hope you don't pass anything down to them. Thanks to the cover B was giving, engineers who were trying to figure out how to prevent the titans from entering through one of the smaller gates had finally created a net out of iron and harpoons and had just finished putting it up. Hey B-san. You can now stop. The net is ready to go. One soldier shouted to let B know that they had completed their work. Time to close the curtains to the curtain, I guess, B remarked as he made the decision to investigate a different titan-filled area. The technological squad came up with the idea to use the titans themselves to create a defensive flesh wall. Hannes explains, it's holding fast onto those harpoons all right, reminding everyone that they should not lower their defenses in case everything fails or the enormous titan reappears. What's the matter? Hannes directed Hannes to a nearby soldier who appeared extremely distressed. Well, our mission is proceeding without a hitch, but I'm still worried about our companions assigned to the vanguard, sir, the soldier said with concern. As of right now, the less we know, the better, Hannes said. We have to focus only on the ambush, similar to what we initially did in training. I understand the 3 kids who escaped with you 5 years ago are at the front line duty too, said the soldier. Yeah, the 2 of them were silent. The soldier apologized. My apologies, sir, I've said too much. It's all right, Hannes said without hesitation. Excuse me? Astonished now, the soldier inquired. They're tough kids, Hannes said. Each of them has a vital skill to help each other survive. Hannes concluded, gazing off into the distance. The first one has advanced combat skills, the second has great mental fortitude, and the third can count on his outstanding intelligence. They're all right, I have no doubt about it, eh? Taking in his new form, Armin saw that Naruto now had a golden cloak that reached his knees, horns sticking out from where his hair was, and more distinct whisker marks. Armin, who had been watching the entire time, took in all of this and came to the conclusion that the person in front of him might be a greater threat than any Titan he had ever encountered. "Hihi," Kurama exclaimed, "not bad Gaki," with the partial transformation, as Naruto grinned. Asasha, Jean, and Connie were among the survivors who shared their stories with other soldiers, educating them about what had happened, but their brief moment of relaxation was interrupted when a loud roar filled the air, followed by a shockwave that was felt. The trainees who had escaped from the barracks within Wall Rose recounted their adventure, how they nearly died, and what they had to endure just to get some gas in order to escape. A nightmarish hell, many thought. Gra erg. The air was filled with an enigmatic roar. "A Titan?" Reiner asked out loud. "Has someone broken through the wall?" "It's coming from the wall itself." As total chaos descended, one soldier uttered those words. "Not at all. One of our strongest positions is this one. There must not be a breach." "Why is there a shockwave?" an additional person asked. Reiner, Jean, and Annie watched with apprehension as they used their 3D maneuver gear to see what was happening among the soldiers. "What the devil?" While they waited for the dust to settle, Reiner asked. Rainer's eyes grew wide. "That child is back." When the dust finally settled, he cried out. With unconscious soldiers scattered almost everywhere and a huge golden kitsune's head appearing out of nowhere from the blonde-haired ninja, the scene was rather suspicious. Are you all right?" Out of concern, Naruto asked the group, and they nodded in response. Eren thought about his newly discovered memory while concentrating intently on the key in his hand. Eren snapped out of his reverie and said, "It's no question they're gonna try and attack again once they recuperate." Eren shocked Armin and Mikasa by saying, "I remembered one thing though." Naruto was a little intrigued by what he had to say. "The basement. The basement at home. When I get there, everything will make sense," Eren disclosed, "and my old man is also to blame for who I am now. It's likely that I will discover the truth about the Titans if I visit there," Eren cried out. "The truth?" Naruto pondered as well. Now that he thought about it, he also wondered how the Titans came to be and why they devour humans. Fuck it. As he punched the ground, Eren swore, if he knew of such a thing, what made him conceal it? The Scouting Legion lost thousands of men because of that information and the hope it held for humanity, and all this time it was hidden in our basement. What on earth was he thinking? Where did he disappear off to for the last 5 years? Eren asked grimly. "Oh, guys? I believe we have more serious issues here," Naruto reminded Eren. "Oh, right," he said, adding that they still needed to come up with a strategy to escape this place unscathed. Armin thought with renewed confidence, "I'm tired of being useless around here. I realize now that it was only me who was holding myself back to become a burden, not my lack of abilities. I'll get us out of this mess no matter what. Dude, I'll do everything in my power to win them over. Make an effort to appear as unthreatening as you can," Armin clarifies as he stands up to confront the group of soldiers and their captain. Naruto deactivated his Biju cloak and returned to his base form, thinking that Armin could truly pull this off. Well, he is the smarter one out of all of us. "Scum! Stop right there!" As Armin and his men approached him slowly, the captain yelled, "He isn't an enemy to humanity, sir. Whatever we learn about the Titans, we'll give it up," Armin negotiated. "Stop begging for your life. We won't listen to you," the captain yelled back. "You're still talking after displaying your true colors in front of us. That's very wealthy. Show us evidence if you are attempting to demonstrate that he is not a Titan. If not, we'll just get rid of the danger he poses." "No proof is required," Armin countered. "We should never have recognized him as such in the first place." "Pardon me?" the captain asked. "I know a lot of people witnessed the events, but they must have witnessed him fending off the Titans, and they must have seen the Titans swarmed around him too." Armin defended. Armin clarified that Eren was treated by the Titans in his Titan form in the same way as any human. The captain was very concerned as Armin's message was slowly making its way through as he gained supporters from the opposing side. "Assemble yourself. We will launch an assault." As men began gathering around him again for another charge, the captain gave this order. "Are you certain that's the best course of action?" said Kakashi, who had just arrived, standing in front of Eren's group with Guy in tow. "Those two are dangerous. Captain 1 is faster than any one person can register, while the other is said to have summoned lightning from his hand that can pierce anything." One soldier shockingly told the captain and a good number of the other soldiers nearby. "But what's most frightening is that they killed Titans with their bare hands without any 3D maneuver gear." This man was filled with fear because his hand appeared to be frozen high in the air. ready to signal and attack. Men like this could potentially defeat an army of men just like him, and the captain was debating whether to sacrifice his allies or fall for the enemy's trick. Tension increased when he felt a firm grip grasp his raised hand. "Don't you see how hopeless things are for you? Brittle as a twig, just as you've always been," the enigmatic new man in uniform said. "Coolly," said Shay. "Commander Pixis," the captain said, sounding surprised. Commander Pixis said, "I just got here, but I think I'm picking things up quickly enough. You go take care of leading the reinforcements," he ordered the captain, and he motioned for them to follow him up the wall, saying, "Something tells me I would do well to listen to what these four have to say." Pixis, the highest-ranking administrator of the southern regions, including Trost, is renowned for his innate eccentricity and has complete authority over the defenses of humanity's vital districts. Commander Pixis looked down the wall into the horde of titans and remarked, "I guess I'll never find one. If she happened to be a beauty, I wouldn't mind being eaten by one of those titans." However, as it let out its loud but peculiar battle cry, a blood-red glowing dot zoomed by, using its claws to kill titans left and right. It yelled, eliminating a titan after another. Commander Pixis merely observed, "I assume this is a friend of yours, Naruto? Recently, you and your pals have been the talk of the town." Naruto called out to his friend, nodding, "Oi, Oji-chan, B," he shouted, attracting Killer B's attention. "Naruto," B thought as he saw him waving at him from the top of the wall, and he made the decision to stop his little outbursts and head back to the wall to join his fellow comrades. Armin and Eren thought, "What the heck is that?" since they had never seen anything like it. "Hey, Naruto." With the exception of Pixis, who remained as stoic as ever, B surprised the three by revealing that he was actually human as he dispelled his version 2 Jinchuriki form. As he watched the group atop the wall, the captain wondered, what is the commander thinking? Up there of all places with those monsters, without so much of one bodyguard? "Sir, Captain, the squadrons have been put together." Returning his focus to the men, the captain said, "All right, good job." Every soldier had a serious expression on their face, and there was a sense of dread in the air. A Commander Pixis listened sympathetically and said, "I see, going into that basement would answer all of your questions." "Yes," Eren answered. "Do you believe me, sir?" Eren inquired. "I'll remember everything for the time being that you are unable to independently prove," Commander Pixis stated. "I think that is the best course of action. However, if you can find material that could make sense out of this whole mess, I will personally ensure your and your friend's safety," he concluded, startling Armin. "Was it trainee Armin?" Mr. Armin saluted in response. "How would you address the current state of affairs? According to reports, you were a brilliant tactician," the commander inquired. Observing the enormous hole in the wall at the end of the Trost district, Armin pondered. Coming up with a solution, Armin thought, "It's a long shot to start with, but it might just work. We ought to block the hole with a gigantic boulder and use Eren's Titan powers." Surprisingly, Commander Pixis approached Eren and asked, "Trainee Eren, can you close up that hole?" Acknowledging this plan. With a definite objective in mind, Eren collected himself and answered, "I'll see to it, sir, whatever the case." Excellent statement. Talking like a true man. The commander gave Eren a back pat before making his way to the wall's edge. "Invoke the personnel officers," the commander shouted, "we must talk about a plan." "Oh no, no way. This is absurd. He simply followed my plan without question," alarmingly, Armin said. A new voice said, "While I agree that there are other crucial factors that need to be covered, I believe the commander is well assessed on the situation." The group turned to see Guy and Kakashi's well-known faces. "Kakashi-san," Armin said. Startled Kakashi raised his hand to signal Armin to relax, saying, "We heard everything. No need to explain. Given the circumstances, this might be your best course of action. Without any titans attacking you, you guys can't possibly fix that enormous hole in time." Commander Pixis eventually returned at this point, accompanied by a few officers who were prepared to act. He stated calmly, "We're racing against time. Move out, young combatants." A scheme to retake Trost?" a shocked soldier asked. "As in, at this moment?" another inquired. "They must be joking. That hole in that gate is too big for us to seal. We lack the necessary technology," another soldier cried out. "What are the brass's thoughts? We'll die needlessly if we go back into the Trost district, with regret," one soldier said. "Because we are unable to seal that hole," another said. "The only thing we can do is die protecting the wall." "Fuck it, what are they? Hounds of glory," someone else conjectured. A soldier by the name of Daz was reacting negatively to the news during all of this conversation. Once more? Are we heading back to hell once more? His breathing became more irregular, and he wondered. No. I'm not interested in dying. I want to see my family, please, he cried. Daz. Man. Keep an eye on it. You're making too much noise. Marco was reprimanded. You're there. That is what I heard, a garrison leader who hurried to the scene said. You wish to abandon the task you were given? Do you? The squad leader was hammered. I do, sir. This is nothing short of mass suicide, and it will not benefit us in the least, said Daz, who was now in a panic. There is no point, he concluded with tears in his eyes. How do you view humanity? How do you feel about the regulations? I would have every right to immediately put you to death. As he got ready to draw his blade, the man said menacingly. All right. It's 100 times better than becoming Titan food, Daz retorted, as he also pulled out his own blade. Calamity and murmurs swept through the crowd. Hey, have you heard that? One trainee was questioned. With a blunt reply, hardly surprising given the situation. Speak, one random female trainee remarked. I wish someone would rebel here as well. Me too. Next to her, someone else said. I want to choose the way I go down, at least. Standing behind her, Jean silently observed and listened while Berthold paid no particular attention at all. One garrison trooper heard them and said, Hey you. Oh, I was merely kidding, she answered sheepishly. Take action. The garrison trooper answered. Return? She asked, perplexed. Make as much noise as you can. As many people as possible. There is a lot of dissatisfaction among the ranks of the stationary troops, he continued. Appearing quite serious, I'll use the disturbance as an opportunity to flee. Leave? To what location? Jean now inquired inquisitively. I'll visit my daughter. The gate here is going to go down anyhow, he grimly replied. Before the land was taken over by the Titans, it was said with the shinobis trailing closely behind them. Commander Pixis lectured Eren. Humanity tore itself apart based on differences such as principles and race. Things didn't start to heat up until Eren and his group passed by Hannes, much to his delight. Eren. Hannes saw. I see you're all right, he thought happily as he was about to greet them, but Eren interrupted him with a gesture indicating that he was a little distracted at the moment. Focus on my mission? Thought a bewildered Hannes. TCH, damn him, some way to address his superiors right there, Hannes thought, a little irritated. Judging from his attitude, I'd reckon Mikasa and Armin are okay. He thought as he quickly turned back to continue his current assignment. What is Eren doing next to the commander? He thought, until he saw 4 new figures walk by, also standing next to Eren. Who are these guys? He thought, analyzing their clothing and physical characteristics. They couldn't be soldiers, he reasoned, because, first, they were not in uniform, and, second, they just looked plain out of the ordinary too, but their description seemed familiar. A few hours prior. Hi, Hannes, did you hear? Asked a random coworker. What? Reports are coming in that outsiders went over our walls and helped against the Titan invasion, said the soldier. Externals. Surprised. Hannes said out loud. Yes, the soldier also added. What's even more shocking is that they don't seem to even need the 3D maneuver gear to combat the Titans, which shocked Hannes. How could that be? Man has very little chance of facing a Titan head-on without the 3D maneuver gear, replied a shocked Hannes wanting to know more. Continue. The right, one soldier who observed their fighting prowess, however, spoke of a man who, while wearing a mask, was able to slash away the Titan's flesh by conjuring something akin to lightning in his hand. The soldier concluded his briefing to a bewildered Hannes, who could not believe what he was hearing. In fact, the Titans were not even able to lay so much as a finger on him as if he knew what they were going to do next. He said, there was no way an ordinary man could accomplish anything he just heard. The commander cleared his throat while the 6 men stood on the wall's edge facing the throng. Soldiers. Focus. I am about to relay our strategy to the reconquest of the Trost district. He shouted powerfully to the horde of soldiers below him, who clambered to listen. The gate that has been destroyed is our goal. We have to do 2 things to succeed. Reach it and stop it, the commander said. The audience was taken aback. Stop it? What on earth? How do we do such a thing? Marco wondered as skepticism started to creep in. Let me begin by introducing this young man who is standing next to me as we move forward, from the trainees unit, Eren Yeager. Whoa, Eren! Krista and Connie both exclaimed they would use Eren to lift a giant stone and plug up the breach while others protected him, the commander continued, explaining that Eren was the result of a successful experiment involving Titan shift shaping, but the reception wasn't so positive as the soldiers started to lose faith in their superiors and the government. At this rate even I know such a cover-up would sound so phony, Kakashi thought. Well, this is it, are the Titans now in charge of us? Bollocks, Daz exclaimed incredulously, I won't allow you to end my life for such nonsense. What do you think of us, disposable blades? Absolutely not. Human weapons, eh? What a bunch of bullshit. How many of us were they expecting to be serious about this? One by one, doubtful soldiers said, you gotta be kidding. Humanity has been sacrificed. I'm spending whatever time I have left with my family, Daz declared before hurriedly leaving. Hey, hold on. Do you want to face the death penalty? A squad leader said. Today, they would all have us killed. I'm leaving this place, the garrison trooper from before said. Me too. Count me in, Co. To the dismay of the nearby captain of the garrison, the trend persisted. If this continues, we're in trouble, order is falling apart. The captain made the decision to act, filthy mutineers, say your prayers. Where you stand, I'll cut you down. Withdrawing his blades, the captain made a threat. The commander inhaled deeply once more, my orders are here. You will all be pardoned if you leave this place. What? The captain mumbled in confusion. Titans are horrible animals, and once a person succumbs to their fear, they will never be able to confront one again. Those of you who have felt that dread are free to leave, he explained. Those who intended to depart sighed in shock, believing that this would never ever happen to them. At last, those who are willing to let parents, siblings, and loved ones go through such terror themselves are free to leave, the commander went on. Everyone came to a halt, motionless. One garrison soldier gave this a lot of thought because he couldn't stand to see his daughter in the Titan's hands. The garrison trooper muttered, that's the one thing I can't do. I can't just let that happen because my daughter is the man concluded, the last hope I have left, and turned to rejoin the battle alongside numerous other soldiers. When Daz returned with tears in his eyes and his friends gave him pats on the back, he thought, yeah, the whole thing might be a sham after all, but I have to succeed nonetheless. My duty is clear enough for the sake of bringing hope, Eren thought, unsure if he would be able to use that Titan's power again. After hearing everything that had been going on, Kakashi thought, this man is very manipulative and analytical, a strong political and military mind he has indeed. The commander then went over the entire plan with everyone, explaining that Eren and friends would travel alongside the walls to reach the hole where they would soon plug it up with a massive boulder, while they would act as the decoy, luring all Titans to the town's corners. The commander called out to them, Kakashi-san, Guy-san, B-san, and they all came running. It's probably best you three join the other squads in luring the Titans while your younger colleague joins Eren and his group, he said, adding, I have already seen what that young man can do and I do believe he is fit for the job in case something goes awry. After giving it some thought, Kakashi nodded in agreement to the commander. Naruto. Kakashi yelled at his pupil. Well, Sensei Kakashi? With his hands relaxed behind his head, Naruto answered rather languidly. You accompany Eren and his team, and please try to avoid doing too much harm. Kakashi reminded Naruto that lives are on the line here. Oh, Kakashi-sensei, Naruto grumbled, you always get the easy job. You little brat, just get on with it, Kurama reprimanded Naruto from within. Oh no, all right, fiend, Naruto accepted his task. Now that everything is in order, let's start Operation Reconquest. As the groups divided up to focus on their current tasks and responsibilities, the commander spoke. Would you guys quicken the pace? Naruto grumbled because, as they jogged to their goal, he could have literally run circles around the group behind him. We're not to blame for your extreme endurance, for once, how about slowing down? Retorted the squad leader. Behind him were Eren, Mikasa, Armin and a few other random soldiers as they jogged as well. Besides, you run funny. Naruto's annoyance was greatly increased by the squad leader. You slowpoke, it's better than being a turtle. Are you familiar with the phrase, slow and steady wins the race? The man responded. No, never, Naruto bluntly retorted as he and the squad leader looked at each other, sparks flying from their eyes as they collided, merely annoying each other. One soldier remarked, damn, this guy is hot-headed, to even casually argue with our leader. The group was eventually approaching the enormous rock near the wall hole, which was their final destination. We'll put your safety first, hey Eren, they said you were a human weapon or whatever, but I don't care as long as you can plug up that hole in that wall. The squad leader acknowledged. It appears that no Titans are in sight as we approach the shortest path to that rock. Everyone appears to be doing a good job of playing the part of the decoy. Eren's thoughts turned to all of his allies and friends. We have all lost our territory, but if the plan works, we will have regained ground for the first time. Mankind has never had the upper hand since the Titans appeared. Not even once. Titans were always advancing and humans were always retreating, Eren reflected. This way. The squad leader alerted everyone as he jumped off the wall with everyone else in tow. Let's go. As he swung down the streets as quickly as he could, Eren thought, the second it's done humanity will claim its first victory. They were rapidly approaching the rock. As he prepared for his metamorphosis, he thought, it may not seem like much compared to what the Titans have taken, but for mankind, this is a tremendous step forward, and bit his hand. The settlement was damaged when a Titan's body appeared out of thin air and crashed into a building, causing an explosion of smoke and lightning. Sugoi. With gleams in his eyes, Naruto declared, clearly impressed by Eren's performance. I suppose it's now my turn. As he clasped his hands together and entered Kyuubi chakra mode, Naruto's form radiated a golden glow that seemed to pulse life into everything around it. The squad leader thought, man, they weren't kidding when they said he wasn't normal as well, as he watched Naruto leap onto a roof and watch Eren alongside Mikasa. Before long, Eren's Titan form regained its balance and withdrew from the structure, moving cautiously in the direction of the rock. Its head turns abruptly around with a look of surprise on his face. Naruto asked Mikasa, huh, what are you thinking? Eren? Mikasa said, but rather than a cordial greeting, she was met with a massive fist sailing in her direction as it crashed into the building, shattering much of the second floor. Something grabbed her from the side as she was about to dodge the fist herself, and she felt as though she was moving quickly. As everything began to blur around her, she stopped when she noticed the squad leader a few feet away. The squad leader was overcome with astonishment when he saw only a yellow flash that managed to save Mikasa and bring her over here in an instant while avoiding the Titan's fist. You alright? Mikasa nodded in response to Naruto's question. Alright, let me handle Eren. He cried out before vanishing once more and resurfacing in front of Eren. Hey, Eren. Remember me? We're your companions. As Titan prepared its fist for another blow, he waved to it. TCH-1 female soldier muttered, mission failure, as she produced a smoke gun, aimed it at the sky, and fired it, leaving a red stream behind. Alright, I got it. We don't possess any secret weapons. Naruto skillfully avoided the Titan's blow by doing some aerial aerobics and swiftly attached himself to Ren's arms with Kyuubi chakra arms. When the Titan was unable to squeeze Naruto to death, it was met with a force greater than its own. The Titan then attempted to grab for Naruto with the intention of squeezing his life out. The soldiers watched as Naruto effectively produced numerous additional chakra arms that protruded in all directions, containing the Titan's strong hold. Given the chance, Naruto slipped out and began running up Eren's arm in a flash, extending one arm outward as though he were going to hold something, and as three smaller ones surrounded it, a blue sphere began to form. This is his strength, then? As they could only observe the conversation between Titan and the enigmatic newcomer, one soldier remarked. Planetary Rasengan. As he slammed the orbs into Eren's left side of the face, Naruto shouted. Eren was left with only half a head as he began to fall back upon impact, the devastation caused by the blue energy exploding outward and blowing a large chunk of flesh and bones from his face. As Naruto ran back onto the nearby building to see what he had done, the enormous Titan creature fell. Sorry, Eren. Steam began to sizzle from Eren's Titan form wound, and the Titan finally fell, its back leaning against the rock like a person lounging. What's the matter? A soldier asked. It's one of those brainless Titans now, someone else said. Hey, Eren. Before a soldier returning from recon arrived on the scene, Mikasa yelled. Ian, the squad leader. He shouted that more Titans were emerging from the gate and that several more were on their way to encircle them. A Commander Pixis and his men kept an eye out for smoke signals in the distance to determine whether or not the operation had been successful. From where Eren and his group were, a red stream of smoke rose into the air. The elite team's red smoke bomb. There must have been some major issues with the blockading operation, one female soldier told the commander while using her spy scope to gaze off into the distance. Slumping into a ball and covering his face, one soldier sobbed, saying, all for nothing hick our allies. Sir. While Pixis and his men remained stoic and continued to watch intently into the distance, he remarked, they all died for nothing. Commander Pixis, we must quickly resume defensive formation and head to the gate, a soldier said. We just need your approval. No, the female soldier proposed, we should order the team to pull back. No, keep attracting the Titans to the town's various corners, the commander went on. As for the elite team, we'll trust the commanding officer in the field to do the right thing. Is that red smoke? Curious, Armin inquired. Does that imply did they fail? Marco asked as he also noticed it. How come, Eren Mikasa, what the hell is going on? Armin asked, then hurried off to investigate with his 3D equipment. Armin. Marco called out to his comrade, but no one paid attention. Hey. Why is it taking so long? Give the order to us. While remaining silent and merely reflecting, one soldier voiced his displeasure to squad leader Ian. In any case, this plan was never based on solid ground. Ian, you're not to blame. Yes, it's worth a try, he went on. However, we've already made enough attempts. All right. My group and I are going to scale the wall. He left as he was leaving. Mikasa was growing impatient and irritable. Naruto, who had previously sensed this, knew she was going to blow up at any moment. As expected, Mikasa brought his blades down and strode forward. Hold on, calm down Mikasa, Ian said, halting her in her tracks with outstretched arms. Go. Riko. Hit the Titan in the back. Naruto, Team Mitabi, and I will handle the couple up front. Ian issued his directives. Pardon me? Riko referred to the recently designated female soldier. The person in charge is me. Quit talking and do as I say. Ian reprimanded them, saying, we can't let Eren be helpless any longer. His team became a little tense. A change of plans. Until Eren recovers, we will keep him safe, the squad leader stated. I say we let him handle something on his own, since it would be foolish to approach him otherwise. He simply has too much potential for humanity to ignore. We find it difficult to let go of. Riko furrowed her brows as the squad leader concluded, because unlike any of us, there is no replacing him. Mr.'s flawed secret human weapon has already claimed the lives of hundreds of us, on the first attempt only, she clarified, and allowed him to regenerate. She was referring to his previous attack when she said, you'll only find yourself in the same situation as before. Exactly, regardless of the number of casualties or the number of attempts. To the surprise of his men, the squad leader responded, combat must go on. Hey Ian. Are you crazy? Riko shouted. Then tell me how we're going to beat the Titans, he responded with a shout. A strategy to vanquish the Titans? Of course. I'm not sure, Riko said in a more composed manner. All right, the squad leader remarked. We wouldn't have to deal with this at all if we had known such techniques. Our current job might be terrible, however, it must still be completed. It's our responsibility to sacrifice our lives for a hideous human weapon, and to die as bravely as possible, he said, grimly facing reality. A voice that belonged to our favorite orange-wearing hero said, wrong. Naruto? Ian listened to his words with curiosity. It is your responsibility to have faith in him and one another. It's true that organizing your responsibilities is one thing, but mutual trust is equally crucial. Because the most important thing to a person is not how strong they are or what they can do, Naruto explained to his new friends, but the courage to keep going. Your strength comes from that. As he extended his fist to the other members of the team and pounded his chest until it was in front of his heart, Naruto declared. Riko grinned. This plan still doesn't appeal to me, however, but before heading off to where the incoming Titans were, she declared, I will choose to believe in Eren for the time being. Riko, Ian said, startled. Ian, the time for pointless conversation is over, come on. Before joining Riko, the other soldier spoke. All right. Ian concurred. Thank you for everything, squad leader Ian, Mikasa said as she went up to the man. There's nothing to be grateful for, Ian laughed as Naruto gave him the thumbs up, saying, as if right now, we can't go with the initial plan. Plus, his emotional display made things run a little smoother. With the new approach, you'll have more freedom to showcase your abilities. Yes, sir, Mikasa answered. After all, you are fighting to protect your boyfriend. To her embarrassment, Mikasa blushed as Naruto laughed. He's family, she blushed with his newfound ability to sense emotions. Naruto rolled his eyes and said, that's a lie. Huh? Mikasa turned back to face Eren, who was still reclining on the big rock that was gradually healing. She wondered if he would be alright because he hasn't fully regenerated any damage yet. Before leaving with her group to defend Eren from the approaching Titans, she concluded, enough, no matter how hard I think about it, there will be no way I would know. For now I'll just do my thing. As Ian walked to the Titans, he thought, Naruto, you really have a strange power to change people you know. Eren opened his eyes slowly, regaining consciousness. I can't see anything, where am I? What day is this? He asked himself. What am I doing? Am I sitting? When Eren slowly opened his eyes again, he saw that he and his family were back at their old house. Well, how come? Sleep, Eren muttered before he lost himself in his fantasy world. Oh, I'm home, he said before yawning. Uren's Titan form was leaning on the enormous boulder and wasn't regenerating as quickly as he should have when Armin arrived on the scene. "Uren, what on earth are you doing? Uren," Armin shouted. A Naruto was just finishing off a Titan when he immobilized it by slamming it into a building and then tore off its neck with his Kyuubi chakra arms, causing blood to fly everywhere before it quickly evaporated. "Well, at least our clothes won't stain," he said, feeling rather sick because his body was covered in Titan blood that had evaporated without leaving any trace. "Shit behind us," to his group, one soldier said out loud. One Titan was able to cross and was attempting to leap over the structure to get to Uren. "A class of 13 meters. Mikasa, go ahead and register that," she replied, leaving her group to deal with the remainder as she made her way to the Titan. "Sir, more are entering through the gate. 4 10 meters classes are coming our way," a soldier warned. With Rasengan in hand, Naruto prepared himself for another wave by saying his catchphrase, "Hey, they just keep coming, Dadbeo." As she made her way to the 13 meters class near Uren, she slashed its neck, killing it, with Naruto. The squad will not have much to worry about, she thought, sure that they would be fine without her. Her eyes widened as she gazed off into the distance. She thought anxiously, no way. Why are so many Titans' heads in this direction? Could it be that they're attracted to Uren? There are hardly any humans in this area? Mikasa. She turned to see where Uren was when she heard a familiar voice calling out to her. Armin. He was standing on top of Uren when she yelled back. Uren can no longer control the Titan. I tried speaking to it, but it didn't respond. Mikasa cautioned Armin nobody should try. Armin listened to her words in disbelief. Whatever became of the plan? Armin inquired. It didn't work. We can't afford to leave Uren, so we fight. At this rate, we might be overrun by the Titans. She explained we can't survive this for too long. Armin stared at Uren's Titan nape, thinking hard, determined to save his close friend. 1 meter long, 10 centimeters wide, Armin thought to himself as he pulled out a single blade, area from the back of the head, to the nape of the neck. Armin. Mikasa, wondering what Armin would do next, yelled. I'll make sure Uren leaves this place. Here, you keep the Titans at bay. As he secured himself to Uren to hold him in place during the procedure, Armin exclaimed. Uren came out of the Titan's weak spot as he raised his blade to cut Uren out in reference to a very anxious Mikasa. He said, surely it has something to do with the fundamental way they function, whatever that is. Everything will be alright so as long I don't strike dead center, but it's going to hurt a lot, Armin said. Armin. Before he could carry out his plan, Mikasa yelled. However, it was too late because Armin stabbed the Titan in the neck with his blade. Uren opened his eyes in agony as the blade sliced through his left forearm. Gra ahhhh, the Titan form let out a painful roar. Armin. Halt. This is absurd. Mikasa begged. Mikasa, you start moving. A few lives could be saved by you. Leave Uren to me. Armin shouted to his friend go now. After a brief moment of hesitation, Mikasa turned and hurried away, granting his request. You can find them anywhere. You can't do it all at once, the soldier cried out. As he made plans for his next move, Naruto thought, TCH if I don't do anything about this, they're gonna die. Oh, I got it, he exclaimed as a light bulb went off inside his head. Everybody, bring a large crowd of them to me. Naruto addressed his fellows. All right, come on, folks, come on, let's do it. They kept in a small group, drawing all of the Titans together as they swung from building to building. The air was also emitting this brilliant white light, and a scraping sound could be heard slicing through it. Oh no, the light is so bright, what is that? As she reached safety from the group of Titans, Riko squinted her eyes to block out the light and asked. There, they saw Naruto holding what appeared to be his normal Rasengan, one in each hand, but they were shrieking in the air, emitting a light so intense that it was difficult to look at them slowly. However, Riko realized that they had changed into a pair of four-bladed throwing spheres of some kind, and just by looking at them, one could sense their power. Yash. As he fixed his sights on the throng of swarming Titans, Naruto thanked them for gathering them. Rasen Shuriken, Fuden. As he hurled both of his creations at the group of Titans, Naruto shouted his own unique technique, which initially sliced through the faster Titans ahead of the crowd and decapitated them, but as it moved into the crowd, both chakra shurikens exploded. The blast was felt everywhere, with the wind pushing many soldiers off their feet as they used their 3D gear to hang on for dear life. The blast radius was amazing, measuring over 40 meters in length, and a dome of slicing wind blades ground the Titans into nothing while also engulfing buildings and leaving no trace behind. Over 33 Titans were destroyed in a single instant, and the soldiers were astounded to see that all that remained when the dome vanished was a massive crater on the ground that was nearly as long as the wall itself. Such power! Wow! Soldiers whispered to each other and to themselves. Many people would still be alive if humanity could do such things as he can, Ian thought as he gazed in wonder at the Titan's stunning destruction. He dabbao, all in a day's work, he exclaimed, appreciating his own creation. Hey, Eren, do you hear me? Get a hold of yourself and leave this place or we'll all perish, Armin yelled to his friend in his Titan form. Eren began to regain consciousness gradually, avoid caving into the body of a weak Titan. Now hurry. Leave this lump of flesh alone, Armin shouted again. Eren thought, get out of here. Why? I feel like sleeping. When he didn't receive a response, Armin broke down in tears. Who's going to get even with your mother? What became of eradicating the Titans? Do you not despise them? Your mother was murdered. As he pounded the Titan's neck with his hands, he screamed. In his dream state, Eren awoke. What are you saying? Eren said, my mom is standing right here, to an Armin who was hammering on his windowsill. When Naruto unleashed a swarm of mini Rasen shurikens on a horde of Titans, he killed some of them but disabled many more, making it easier for the soldiers to eliminate them. Naruto, thanks for the cover fire. Ian expressed gratitude. Team Mitabi, get back to work. Mikasa shows up at that moment. She had previously seen a massive wind dome from a distance, but she was unaware of the destruction until she zoomed past a crater where multiple buildings once stood. As Mikasa continued to meet with her squad, she thought, such destruction for one person. I'm Mikasa, sir, I've returned. I will be a member of Team Mitabi, she uttered those words. Awaken, Eren, are you in there somewhere? Shouted Armin. Eren. The Titans will kill you if you just sit there, it's all going to end right here, a voice echoed in Eren's mind. In his dream state, Eren turned to face Armin outside and said, I still don't get what you're talking about, Armin. What would require me to step outside? That's correct, Eren wondered, what's the Scouting Legion good for? What's it out there? Whatever happened to venturing out into the world? Armin reminded Eren, we were meant to. There are blazing waters far beyond these walls, vast expanses of ice, and as far as the eye could see, there were snowfields of sand, he said. I was wondering if you still remembered it. However, that discussion gave me the motivation to enlist in the Scouting Legion, didn't it? Eren was frozen in his reverie. The world. The outside. Eren rose from his chair. The words, answer me, Eren, came to Armin's mind. I know the first steps outside these walls will begin our journey to hell, but still tell me, Eren, what did you want to see the outside for? Eren asked. Why? He pondered. I thought it was obvious. Looking back at Armin, he turned around. It's because this is the world I was born into. Eren finally woke up from his slumber. Ian was briefed by a soldier. Leader. Most our men are getting tired out and fatigued. 5 Titans are coming through our gate. Naruto roared, leave that to me. As he rushed forward, his favorite hand sign was formed by his hands. Kage Bushin no Jutsu. 10 newly created Narutos prepared for the incoming wave of Titans as they all charged into battle, shocking the soldiers once more. Oh no, Naruto. You truly possess the answer to all of our issues, don't you? Thanks to Naruto, Ian was able to take a brief break. Suddenly, everyone was looking to see where the characteristic earth-shaking tremor was coming from. When Ian and Mikasa saw that the boulder was being carried by Eren in his Titan form, their eyes widened. Happily, Mikasa said, Eren, Torns are advancing from behind. A fresh voice exclaimed. When they turned, everyone saw it was Armin. Mikasa yelled, Armin, as he rushed toward her. Armin joyfully exclaimed, Eren got the upper hand. Now he's doing his part, Armin said. Let us see Eren to the gate and victory is assured. And everyone froze. Ian, the squad leader, and his colleagues furrowed their brows with a newfound confidence. As they all charged forward, he declared, guard him with your lives. We will protect Eren on his way to the gate, even it's the last thing we do. You too. Get back to Eren. That's an order. Mikasa and Armin were shocked, understand? Yes, sir. Ian, the squad leader, was about to leave when he was stopped by what he saw next to take on the Titans. Team Mitabi is sprinting across the open field. Team Mitabi, what the? Looking around, he saw that Naruto and his clones were unable to help at the moment because they were too busy fending off numerous other Titans from the opposite side. Those Titan scum aren't snacking on us, shouted a Team Mitabi soldier. Another said, We just have to run up to them until they do. Over here, damn it. Come on over here, or I'll blade your smelly ass. At last, the Titans paid attention with grim expressions on their faces. The team fled back to the buildings to entice the Titans. It worked. They're here. Go. Run in the buildings' direction, they all shouted. Ian's group looked on in disbelief. Why do they do this? It's suicide to go on the ground like that. They need buildings and horses to fight, Armin cried out. Not right before deciding, Ian stated, this was the only choice. Go after Team MITABI. If you must, forcibly establish contact. We're setting the goals for ourselves. His team was prepared to give their lives as bait, so he exclaimed as he leapt from the building as well. Eren narrowed his vision to see Armina and Mikasa while carrying the enormous boulder, thinking, I feel as if my body is going to break apart. Armin. Mikasa. What are you doing? You can't be here, you'll just end us as Titan food. Everyone was prepared to sacrifice their lives in order for Eren to plug up that hole, and in the meantime, squad leader Ian and his squadron were being overtaken by the Titans. The first person to fall was a soldier who was falling behind and was immediately sucked up by a Titan and devoured. I suppose this is it for us, Ian thought, aware that he couldn't outrun them but keeping watch because he knew he would die any moment. The Titans started to slowly extend their arms in search of the closest victim to devour. Cable lighting. Asakujaku, lariat. Ian looked up in disbelief to see a man covered in green aura, a demonic blood-red beast, and two masked men, one of whom he thought was a clone. Zooming by, one of the masked men had a line of lightning in one hand, while the other had one in the other, as if they were connected, decapitating and killing two Titans as the lightning cable passed through them. The green man threw a barrage of flaming blows into the air, creating a lot of fireballs as they devoured two more Titans, beating and scorching them until nothing remained. The final, much larger Titan's legs dangled in the air as the demonic beast-like figure charged straight into its chest, causing it to fall back a great distance until it was buried halfway from head to torso. It was not going anywhere anytime soon. It appears that we got there just in time as B and Guy powered down, the newcomer remarked. After all, being on time was never really my best trait. Ian sighed with relief as he marveled at the existence of such men and was grateful for their prompt rescue. Eren carried the enormous boulder to its final destination. As he approaches the hole in the wall, Eren thinks, we were all born free, all of us, and if anyone tries to take that away from us, it won't matter how strong their flaming waters, icy landscapes or whatever. Whoever gets to see these things can call themselves the freest person in the world. Fight. Eren continued, that is the sort of thing which is worth dying for, as his allies grinned. Eren thought, just fight. As he arrived at the hole in the wall, the world out there might be a scary place, no matter. The world out there might be cruel, no matter. Go, Eren. Goo. As the rest of his teammates applauded, Armin sobbed. Fight. Eren exclaimed as he successfully sealed the hole by slamming the boulder into the wall. At last, it was finished. Rico sobbed happy tears and collapsed back onto her butt. As she activated her smoke bomb, she cried, many people sacrificed themselves to pull this off. For the first time today, humanity is in the lead. A female soldier was briefed with her spy scope, a yellow smoke bomb, and the operation was successful, sir. Send reinforcements all at once. Get the elite squad out. Commander Pixis gave the order. This is where the remaining Titans are headed. Now let's ascend the wall, Rico remarked. As soon as Eren is well, we will leave. As she headed to Eren's now fallen Titan, Mikasa responded. Dude, you're burning up. As he extracted Eren from the Titan's nape, Armin uttered those words. Armin. How is Eren doing? Mikasa inquired. He's definitely baking a lot. Now we must climb the wall, he answered. Hell? That thing is still partially merged with him. He refuses to come out no matter how hard I pull. Then we'll simply have to stop talking to him. Rico made the suggestion and pulled out her blade. Wait, Mikasa said. A little startled, Eren fell with Armin after Rico cut off a piece of Titan's flesh, but it was too late. Oh no. When Armin and Eren landed with a thud, the scene turned gloomy as two Titans came toward him and Eren prepared to devour them. Where is the rest of the squad? Where is Naruto Guy Kakashi B? Where are they when we need them? Armin searched frantically for them but couldn't find them. The first Titan put its hands out in front of it. But as said savior stood atop their fallen corpses, nothing ever happened until a green blur and a silver flash zoomed by, slashing both Titans' nape, instantly killing them. Mikasa walked down beside Eren. Mikasa, Armin remarked. These are. When Eren opened his eyes, he saw a man in a green cloak flapping in the wind, with a Scouting Legion symbol etched on its back. Wings of Freedom, Eren half-consciously thought. The newcomer turned to welcome his rescued victims. Hey, kids, would you mind explaining what's happening? The recapture of Trost was 2 days ago. Titans broke through the district's walls and killed numerous people, causing chaos that lasted for the entire day. Things did appear to be improving, though, as 4 enigmatic newcomers saved a lot more lives than would have been lost in such a catastrophe. But as long as people continued to live in fear of the Titans, the number of deaths didn't matter. However, they have at last regained territory and halted their advance for the first time in human history. What lies ahead for them as they travel a path that ought never to have been? What threat are the newcomers going to pose to them? Jean looked at his close friend's half-eaten corpse and asked in shock, "Hey Marco, is that you?" "Trainee, do you know his name?" inquired a female sanitary division member dressed in a white face mask and coat. Jean froze, stunned. He acknowledged, "I thought I haven't seen much of him." Jean pondered, "But him out of all people, Marco, what happened?" He pivoted. "So anybody saw his last moments?" He begged everyone who believed they saw. The woman piped up, "Do you know his name? If so, I could use a prompt answer." Jean's eyes narrowed and he gave her a fierce look. "You need to understand, trainee, it has been 2 days since the hole has been blockaded with that stone," she said. "Yet we still aren't done retrieving all the corpses at this rate. We're facing a risk of a widespread contamination. We have yet to prevent another catastrophe." Indeed, the streets of those who dared to confront the Titans were littered with the bodies of the dead. If those were left there would be an epidemic in addition to Titans to fear. "We don't have time to spare grieving your friend for the moment," she added. "Understood?" Jean watched, 104th Trainee Corps Leader of the 19th Squad Marco Bot. The woman started writing down what she had discovered on her clipboard. She said, "Marco A. Thank God you knew his name. You may proceed," leaving Jean stunned. Sasha, who assisted with the cleanup of Trost as well, came upon a disgusting and terrifying scene that she had never seen in her life. Human remains in a jumbled ball lying in the streets while some of the masses were dissolved and disfigured to the point of being unidentifiable. The entire mass was covered in this type of slime, to put it mildly. This sight was truly shocking. The overpowering stench would have caused them to throw up if they hadn't worn face masks. Sasha said, "What's all this?" One soldier wearing sanitary gear replied, "The Titans regurgitated remains." Titans don't seem to have any digestive organs. You see, once their bellies are full from eating humans, they just throw it back up afterwards, he said. "Oh my God," Sasha exclaimed as she watched in horror. The soldier grumbled, "Damn, look at this mess. How are we supposed to tell these people apart now?" Reiner, Bertholdt, and Annie also worked to clean up the remains of their fallen comrades on another block, on the opposite side of the building, while Annie and the others gathered the corpses from the streets and placed them in the cart. Reiner operated the vehicle. Annie approached a female trainee's corpse while maintaining an expressionless expression. She whispered, "I'm sorry." Reiner stated, "It won't make any difference to apologize. Let's get this memorial service over with." The trainees' uncertainties and anxieties began to surface following such a heaven-shaking event. Was everything in vain? Many inquired. All of their sacrifices, effort, blood, sweat, and training, would it all be in vain in the end? The bodies from their cleanup assignment were collected by trainees, who then disposed of them all in a bonfire of some kind. Burning them all, there was a moment of silence for the fallen as many people stayed. Slumping on the floor, Connie reflected on how all of his fears had come true. The other members of the group, Annie, Reiner, Bertholdt, Sasha, and Jean, stood next to him, watching the flames devour their comrades' remains. On the ground, Jean saw a piece of bone that had fallen away from the flaming fire in front of him. He took it up. "Hello, Marco, we are as worn out and broken as we are right now. I can't think of anything more," Jean thought to himself. "We wouldn't have chosen to be soldiers if we'd known that kind of hell awaited us." "Say, which of these bones belong to you again?" Jean stared at the palm of his hand, where the piece of bone lay, and thought, "I can't remember. If I hadn't joined the military, had I not met you all." As Jean recalled his conversation with Eren about becoming a true soldier, he thought, "I would have gotten away without having to worry about who's next. Damn bitch, I didn't want to hear it from you. However, I've come to my senses. We must battle," he acknowledged to himself. "There's no avoiding it. However, even so, I refuse to become as stupid as you are. Not everyone has your level of strength." As he recalled his moments with Marco, he thought, Eren. With a new objective in mind, he clenched onto the bone fragment, his grip tightening. He looked around at the other trainees. "Hey guys, we're supposed to pick what branch to serve in. You picked one yet?" he inquired. They gazed at him. "Because I made my decision, I will join the Scouting Legion," Jean said, on the verge of tears. For the duration of the day, the Scouting Legion eliminated the last few Titans in the district while mounted cannon explosives totally destroyed those near the wall. It was almost time for the residents to return in the process. They even succeeded in capturing a few Titans alive. While the newcomers were detained by the military police because they were a threat to the king, Eren was in a coma and resting in a dungeon in case anything happened. Despite their initial reluctance, Commander Erwin, the Scouting Legion's leader, advised the shinobis to comply for the time being because it was the best course of action in this situation since the police force had seized all of their combat gear pending additional investigation. Kakashi consented and instructed his fellow soldiers to comply for the time being. But Samahada turned out to be a challenging one. Gra. B put the sentient sword down leaning against a wall, and as soon as one of the policemen approached too closely, the sword snarled from beneath its bandages. One soldier raised his gun in alarm, saying, "What is that? What kind of sword growls at another person?" It started vibrating a bit too violently, which only seemed to enrage it more. B gave the policeman a thumbs down in disapproval and rapped, "You struck a chord in the sword, yo fool. You ain't its lord, so get away before you get floored." Having had enough of the soldier's incessant panic, Samahada made the decision to slither back to Killer B, who was imprisoned in his cell with Kakashi, Guy, and Naruto. All of them remained there doing nothing particularly noteworthy. The cell where Eren lay in his coma was next to them. Captain Levi and Commander Erwin observed the humorous scene in front of Eren's cell. One soldier cried out in a panic, "Shoot it!" Believing it would help its master make an escape attempt. 3 musket shots are fired at the sword as 2 more soldiers join him, their guns raised. The soldiers were unsure of what to anticipate for a few seconds. The musket balls didn't pierce Samahada, so they just crumpled up and fell to the ground. Clack clack clack, the sword abruptly twisted like a snake, with the blade's head facing the soldiers and the rest of its body behaving like a snake's. It snarled. Groor. It growled at the soldiers, clearly not amused by the iron fragments striking it so quickly. The upper portion of the bandages tore open, exposing a rather scaly blade rather than a metallic one. As they returned their focus to a gaping crack in the sword, some soldiers considered using such unusual material to create a blade. Hold-on swords have had opening crevices since when? They all pondered. What they all saw next made them shudder. When Samahada's mouth opened, rows upon rows of sharp teeth were visible, ready to tear anything to pieces. The existence of such a sword is simply horrifying, particularly if it's independent. When they saw this, the soldiers who didn't have time to reload just took a step back, but as soon as they realized it was not paying any more attention to them, they relaxed and slithered back to Killer B. Killer B nibbled happily on Samahada's arm while cooing through the bars. "Aw, they hurt you, you big lug?" To its delight, Killer B gave it some of his chakra and said, "You go behave now, alright?" After being fed, the sentient blade complied and returned to its original location on the wall, where it now rested much more peacefully. Captain Levi watched, much to his amusement, while Commander Erwin watched analytically. The shinobis went back to whatever they were doing in their cell, as if the entire scene had never occurred. Kakashi just read his orange-covered book, which is his signature. Guy started the 58th push-up set while B was creating new lines in his rhyme book. Naruto was just being Naruto. He let out a sigh. "I'm curious how everyone is doing at home. While a war is raging, we're stranded here. What would happen if..." Naruto made a somber, guilty face and began to think if his friends and loved ones perished because he was absent, Naruto would never be able to forgive himself. Furthermore, if he remained here indefinitely, he would never be able to fulfill his dream of becoming the Hokage. His mind quickly wandered to his best friend, whom he was unable to return to the village. Kakashi called out to his pupil, Naruto, waking him from his reverie. "I know what you're thinking right now and I'm worried too," he said. Kakashi reassured his student, "But don't worry, our friends are strong and can handle themselves if it needs to be. We will return home once we figure out our situation," which helped him feel more at ease. "Thanks, Kakashi-sensei." A guardsman in the vicinity overheard Kakashi's statement and merely laughed before going back to work. He pondered, as if they're getting out here alive. This place is dull." Naruto pondered. "There must be something enjoyable to do." He smiled mischievously as a lightbulb suddenly went off in his head. Naruto baited the guardsmen by saying, "Oipist police guys over here." They all said, "What?" Naruto quickly gestured with his hand. He shouted, "Oiroke no jutsu." As smoke erupted throughout the cell. When the smoke cleared, a young, attractive, curvaceous woman wearing only her slender underwear was seen posing in a rather alluring manner in place of Naruto. Given that one soldier turned away in shame and blushed profusely, the other's eyes literally bulged out of his skull as his face heated up, and the final one clutched his face because blood was streaming down his nose. Their reaction was rather amusing. Captain Levi just face-palmed at such foolishness, while Commander Erwin laughed at Naruto's antics. With no particular attention from the other shinobi, Naruto transformed back into his original form and was now on the ground laughing uncontrollably. B continued to write in his journal. Guy continued to work out, and Kakashi continued to read his book. However, B was wearing dark shades, so it was obvious whether or not he was paying attention. "Gur, you brat! You dare make a mockery of the police force!" exclaimed the man who had recovered from the bleeding nose. "Stand down," Levi ordered. "You got yourself into that ordeal, so I can't exactly blame him for your carelessness," he replied. "Do your job." They all said, "Yes sir," and went back to their original positions, cautious of Naruto now. Commander Erwin thought, "They are a funny bunch," until he heard a faint moan. He looked at the cell before him and saw that Eren had woken up at last. "I see you're finally awake after being in a 3-day coma now. Do you have any questions, Eren?" replied Commander Erwin. Eren looked around and asked, "Where am I?" He discovered that he was in a cell. Commander Erwin clarified, "You're in an underground cell, but you could probably see for yourself. As of right now, you are under the police force's custody. We arrived here not too long ago." "What's next? What about the other trainees around me at that time?" replied Eren. Commander Erwin answered, "As well as anyone who knows about your past, we're hearing them out right now." He held out Eren's key and remarked, "What we're going to do now won't be much of a change from how far it's been now." Eren exclaimed, "Hey, I know that key," Commander Erwin remarked. "You sure do, because it's yours. You can have it back later. Back in your old home in Dr. Jaeger's basement in the Shiganshina district lies the answer to the mystery of the Titans. Am I mistaken?" he inquired. Eren clarified, "No sir, probably not, or so my father said." Levi remarked casually, "You lose your memory and your daddy goes missing, eh? How convenient." The commander responded, "Levi, I thought we have already established that he has no reason to lie to us." The commander turned back to Eren. "There are still a few things I would like to know. However, as of now I believe we should ask what is it you want," he said. "To inspect your house in the Shiganshina district at Wall Maria. The gate over there is broken and would require a quick and rapid blockading. That's when your powers would come into play," Erwin said. "Like it or not, the Titans have an influence in our fates. The Colossal and Armored Titan follow those principles as well. Your will is the key that humanity can use to escape our hopeless situation." As he considered all the lives already lost and the horrors they had all had to endure, Eren stammered, "Hello? We don't have all day, you little piece of trash," replied Levi. "What is it that you want to do?" After fumbling with this query, Eren turned to face the captain gloomily. Eren grinned darkly and angrily. "I want to join the Scouting Legion and kill them Titans, sir." "Oh ho, not bad," Levi said. "Erwin, tell the higher-ups that I will vouch for him." He gripped the bars of Eren's cell and uttered the words, "Not that I trust him or anything, I just want to be around to kill him if he ever goes rogue and start a rampage," he said. "I don't think the top brass will disagree, though I'm one of the few fit for the job." "Okay son, you're in. Consider yourself now part of the Scouting Legion." Naruto, who was listening in on their conversation, sarcastically exclaimed, "Yay, can we go now?" Almost everyone in the room said, "No," at the same time. Naruto pouted while he waited for his turn, complaining in frustration. "This may be a while." On the outside, rumors circulated among the towns that Titans had broken into the Trost district, but that it had been quickly and completely closed down by the end of the day. Many people gathered to read, and newspaper alerts and articles were printed and distributed to the masses. Dozens of people gathered around a man holding a news article, eagerly listening to what he had to say. As everyone gasped and whispered, the man read, "The colossal titan that appeared in front of it destroyed the southern gate, located in the Trost district. In just 1 hour, the whole Trost district was overrun by Titans," he said. A desperate plan to conquer the district back succeeded, and the breach in the wall was plugged. Confusion began to darken everyone's faces as the crowd wondered what their government might be hiding. They grew increasingly suspicious of it. The wall got breached, but they still managed to plug that gap. What in the world? All blatant lies, I tell you. This report was issued by the imperial government after all, a man said. They just want to deceive us, dwellers of the inner walls. That's why they are spreading such lies. Hordes of people from territories behind Wall Rose must be pouring into our lands in Wall Sina as we speak. One man shouted to the crowd, "I have the truth. This company will tell you what really went on." While waving a news article in his hand, many people took the articles that his men were handing out. "Company? Huh. As if I'm going to believe some announcement unauthorized by the government," one man said with hesitation. As he read, another man shot back, "And what makes you think that government information is trustworthy, huh? Pray tell." As he read on, one man sputtered, "Hey W, what is the meaning of this?" He and those around him exclaimed in shock. "A titan plugged up the breach in the wall with the boulder here," it says. The man kept drawing attention to himself. Moreover, mysterious people from the outside battle titans with magic like no other. Men who could battle the titans with their bare hands, jump from roof to roof, run at inhumane speeds, disappear in an instant. What fairy tale is this? What the hell? It has been a day since Eren regained consciousness while receiving all of his basic medical attention from the military police, especially silent were the shinobis. Eren pondered the situation. For what length of time must they remain here? Eren said to one soldier, "Excuse, may I use the restroom?" With a chilly tone, the soldier answered, "You already went a while ago." With the next guard, Eren started to try his luck. He said, "Can I have some water?" With another icy demeanor, the soldier retorted, "Hey, know your place, you monster." Huh. They still consider me to be a monster. You can't hold them responsible. Do I really look so intimidating that they have to limit me in almost every way? Eren thought. All right, it is to be expected. I suppose I'm not even sure I understand it. Maybe I should be thankful that I haven't been killed yet. But hold on, my pals, they had no fear at all. What are they doing at the moment? Where are the others now? Before he left, Eren quickly recalled the commander's parting remarks. Eren, hold on a minute. We'll try to persuade them to make some sense. When the room's entrance opened, Eren quickly snapped out of his reverie. Clang. Bah, exclaimed someone. Oops, sorry, wrong cell, a female voice said. The silence was growing too great. Eren wondered who had screamed, but he pushed that thought aside as he concentrated on who would show up behind bars. Clang. A woman suddenly materialized, leapt, and slammed herself into Eren's cell. Holding her face close while clinging to the bars, there was a rather unsettling look of obsession on her face. Eren could understand why the other person screamed, which made it a little unnerving. The newcomer watched Eren closely. She wore glasses, wore the Scouting Legion uniform, and had her brown hair pulled back into a ponytail. You must be Eren, the woman exclaimed with joy. Sorry for taking so long, but it seems you will be getting out of here soon with your friends. Friends? Eren wondered as he emerged from his cell and peered into the adjacent one. He realized everything there. After experiencing sheer terror from the new woman he met, Naruto rolled into a ball, and Kakashi gave him a pat on the back, but not with much empathy. As the guards started to open the doors, B and Guy were prepared to leave the cell. Honestly, you battle monsters and even fought in a war, but you're still scared of such a face? Kakashi asked, but only Naruto gave him a gloomy look. In return, Kakashi let out a sigh. This is all your fault, Tenzo, Kakashi thought, recalling Yamato's methods of using fear to manipulate Naruto. He turned to go, pulling Naruto with him, and shrugged, saying, "Can't be helped, I guess." They were rapidly approaching their destination when they were escorted up and out of the dungeons by armed guardsmen in the order of Guy, B, Naruto, and Kakashi. The shinobi formed a single line. Naruto, muttered Kakashi, prepare for an escape if necessary. Despite his confusion, Naruto nodded. Hey, no whispering, shouted a guardsman. As they listened to the woman who went by the name of Hanji Zoe, the group kept moving forward along their path. Following a quick introduction and conversation, she led Eren and the group to a double door, which she opened. It's okay, Eren, just tell them what's on your mind, she replied. We're putting our faith in you. Eren and shinobis entered the next room, where they were met by dozens of onlookers. A courtroom? Eren pondered. So all of this time we were in a court dungeon? A soldier led them to the middle of the room and said, proceed forward slowly. From there, 5 other men brought down posts to pin their handcuffed prisoners while Eren and the handcuffed shinobis knelt. They reasoned, they aren't going anywhere now. Eren looked around the room and saw a lot of significant people. Captain Levi, Commander Pixis, Commander Erwin, and the head of the military police. Whoa. Eren pondered until he noticed Mikasa and Armin, his friends. You guys. A new man said, well then let's get started, and took a seat in the open head chair. That man is in charge of all 3 divisions, if I'm not mistaken, Eren thought, Generalissimo Dallas Zackley. You are Eren Yeager, right? And you're a soldier sworn to sacrifice your life for the cause if need to be, is that right? He inquired. Eren answered, yes, sir. Now that I think about it, what am I accused of? He pondered. The usual law practices are inapplicable to you, as you're a special case, Zackley said. Their military council is now in order and the sole right to pass judgment on rests on me. I shall decide your life or death from here on out. Any objections? None, sir, answered Eren. Kakashi gestured to his fellows to be prepared at any time. Each of them gave a nod. Naruto started to shut his eyes. It's good to have your understanding. Your case is unprecedented, and stirred up a lot of clamor within these walls. It has brought up two clashing viewpoints, Zackley stated. He went on to describe the new threats and dangers his presence exposes to the general public, saying, "There are people who call you a demon that would be our undoing, and others say you're our hope and savior." He pointed to the two opposing groups and said, "We are basically going to decide which military branch to entrust you with," he remarked, "the military police or the scouting legion," as both groups watched impassively. Zackley proposed, "First, let's hear what the military police force has to say." The police force chief cleared his throat. Chief of the military police, Nile Doc, reporting, he stated, "We think a swift disposal is in order once a thorough research of Eren's body has been concluded." Once again there was silence. Nile went on to say, "This was the conclusion I had arrived after carefully considering the scale of damage that would be inflicted upon society in case his existence is acknowledged," adding that although Eren was the reason Trost was retaken, he carried too much political weight and could cause a civil war. "That's as why, once after we glean as much information out of him as possible," Nile said, "the least we can do for him is posthumously name him a hero of war who sacrificed his life for humanity's sake." "No need for that," butted in a man wearing robes that were adorned with the three wall symbols around the collars. "He is a vermin who has tricked the divine wall, bestowed upon us by the Lord's wisdom, and invaded our land. He must be executed without ado," he said. "It appears that the man is someone you know. 5 years ago, he founded a new organization that became very powerful. What was the name of it?" "Religion, huh?" Eren pondered. "Pastor Nick, to order please. Next, let's hear the opinion of the Scouting Legion," Zackley responded. "Yes, Sir. 13th Commander of the Scouting Legion, Erwin Smith reporting. We officially ask Eren to join us and use his Titan powers to take back Wall Maria for humanity. That is all I have to say." Zackley questioned, "Are you sure?" "Yes, sir," said the commander. He went on, "With his Titan powers it is possible for us to recapture Wall Maria. It is after all the most sensible option in this situation," while the military police chief and pastor gave him a menacing glare. Conservatives in the Scouting Legion engaged in endless rants and arguments. It took so long to approve ammunition and equipment for the wall's defenses because of the power and opposition of the conservatives who supported the religion. If it weren't for them, fewer lives might have been lost that day. He pointed out a conservative to the shinobis and said, "Hey wait, what about those four? They almost forgot they were here the whole time," and everyone's attention was drawn to them. Zackley recalled, "Oh yes, you four," he said, "according to the reports, you have nothing affiliated with the Titans, it says," which was greatly appreciated by the audience. However, it also says you wield a power no man has ever seen besides shape-shifting into Titans, one that can potentially help eradicate those monsters beyond these walls. Everyone gasped and whispered that they, too, might be able to attain such power since they didn't think such fairy tales existed. About 1/3 of the audience remained doubtful about this subject. "Ha!" a haughty member of the police force exclaimed. He kept laughing as he walked to the middle of the room to demonstrate his point. "You're all delusional. No man can do such a thing. Sure, becoming a Titan is one thing, but to take down a Titan with his bare hands is just plain silly." With some concern, the friend said, "Hey, what are you doing?" He said, "Relax, I'm gonna show everyone that their magic is all a fraud," as he leapt over the gate. "No, wait," his friend begged, reaching out to grab him again. He started to do so, but a hand moved in front of him and stopped him. It belonged to Nile. He listened carefully to what was going to sweat and said, "No, let him go." He also added, "We need to see things ourselves," which greatly pleased the conservatives and police officers. But when the poor man reached the middle of the room, the majority of the men grimaced. For him to be honest, Zackley was curious to see what these newcomers had to offer. He never read anything but reports. He watched closely, allowing the soldier to carry on with his actions without repercussions, but he couldn't let this opportunity pass him by. Eren and the four binder shinobis behind him were passed by the soldier. He stooped to examine Kakashi closely. Kakashi just gave a bored stare in return. "Hey, you don't look so tough," the soldier snidely remarked. He slowly extended his hand toward the thin, layered cloth and said, "I wonder what's behind this mask of yours." Kakashi's brows furrowed in frustration. They really never bothered to reveal this man's identity from the beginning, so everyone also paid close attention. Why must he cover his face with something like that? As he gradually started to lower it for everyone to see, the man's finger pulled on the fabric. Poof! Kakashi vanished, and a wooden post identical to the one restraining him took his place. His handcuffs were still locked and undamaged on the floor. Wah! But how? The man exclaimed, looking around wildly from above. He heard a cough. He raised his head. He said, "No way, that isn't possible." As everyone looked up, their jaws hanging open in wonder. Kakashi was reading an orange book while hanging upside down on the ceiling with only his feet attached. Kakashi asked in a rather bored tone, "How much longer do we have to play prisoner?" "Huh? Why can I now freely move my arms?" Eren leaned forward and wondered as he rose slowly. He realized that his only remaining restraint was his bound hands. He had lost the post that held him down. The pastor yelled, "Restrain him! And get that man too! Eradicate the demons among us men!" As policemen leapt over the small gate and restrained Eren, much to his chagrin they took out their rifles and aimed them at Kakashi, while 3 other men joined them in the middle of the room. One scouting legion soldier exclaimed, "Oi, Nile! Stop your men, you can't do this here." Nile merely watched as though he knew what would happen next. He thought unconcernedly, if these men are as good as they say, then they should have no problem with this. "Now!" Guy shouted as he used his Sage Mode to snap the links of his handcuffs, and Naruto followed suit. Killer Bee simply welded off the links that bound his hands and transferred lightning chakra to his finger. With the intention of shooting down Kakashi, they all charged at the 3 men with tremendous strength. Naruto tackled one to the ground, pinning him and preventing him from retaliating naturally. The man was unaware as Guy launched him into the crowd with his signature dynamic entry. Killer Bee, meanwhile, subdued the poor soldier by swatting the gun away and placing him in an octopus hold. The disaster spread like wildfire throughout the courtroom. Unless someone took action, chaos would unavoidably ensue. As the shinobis assumed their battle positions, more men took out their weapons. "Stop! Order! Order!" Zackley screeched. Everybody froze. "Get back to your assigned area or I will have you executed on the spot," threatened Zackley. After a collective gulp, everyone returned to their faction area. Zackley let out a sigh. "What a bothersome day," he muttered, using his thumb and index finger to pitch the bridge of his nose. "Sir, if I may speak," Commander Erwin said. "Proceed," said Zackley. "Since Eren's powers and the newcomer's history is all a mystery, they will all always represent a potential threat," Erwin stated. "Under our watch, we will handle such matters accordingly and use them for humanity's benefit." "I understand you are more acquainted with these newcomers, but how would you handle Eren accordingly?" replied Zackley. "If we're talking about killing him, then I have no doubt in my abilities that I can do it," Levi replied. He looked at the military police faction and continued, "The problem is that no option in between exists." Looks like our discussion is over. Let me pass judgment now," said Zackley. Nile said, "Wait, sir, Erwin, how will deal with the inland problems then? He still bear too much political weight. I realize stability in the inland scan affect our activities beyond the walls, so to calm the inland, it is my proposition that we prove to the public Eren will benefit mankind in our next mission outside the wall." Erwin responded. "So I would like you to withhold your judgment for now," he suggested to Zackley. Zackley remarked, "Oh, so you want to take him to the outer lands? The sooner he gets there, the more likely he will die." "Good riddance then," the conservative crowds murmured. Zackley gave his choice a lot of thought. "It is decided, then Eren will be put into the scouting legions. However, he is to return here depending on mission results," Zackley stated. "Moreover, you 4, I also entrust you to the scouting legion since you're so well acquainted with the commander. I doubt you 4 will cause too much trouble," he said to the shinobis, who were facing him in a row. "I want a full detailed report on them afterwards, okay Erwin?" "Yes, sir," Erwin said with a smile. That was much easier than I thought it would be, as he traveled to their current location with Levi and Hanji. Erwin gestured to the shinobis who were following him and said, "Levi, go take Eren and introduce him to your team. I'll take these 4 with me." With a nod, Levi and Eren immediately departed. "I suppose you 4 haven't had a decent meal in days," Erwin replied. "Come with me to the barracks. I'm pretty sure you have more friends waiting for you there." As the shinobis nodded, Naruto grinned, anticipating that he would be consuming as much ramen as he could. It was almost time for the soldiers to eat dinner, so the 5 of them walked to their destination. Many trainees were drawn in when Commander Erwin opened the cafeteria door. One said to his friends, "It's Commander Erwin," in a whisper. As the group of trainees eagerly awaited his words, another person asked, "Aren't selections supposed to be in a few days?" Erwin's throat was cleared. He let the 4 shinobis in and said, "Hello everyone, may I interrupt your meal, but I have some special guests." Everyone let out a gasp as they walked to the kitchen. They gathered around the men. "Whoa, you guys were amazing. You really saved our asses back there." To Kakashi, "Can I see your face?" To Killer Bee, "Is that supposed to be a sword?" When he first met them, one soldier recalled, "Hey, I remember you said you would answer our questions later back then." To put it plainly, yes we will, Kakashi replied. But first, our meals. B. Guy and Kakashi ate whatever the chef prepared in the kitchen because they weren't picky eaters, but Naruto had another desire. Naruto exclaimed, "Oyoji-chan, I want a bowl of miso ramen," with excitement. "Our ramen?" The man asked doubtfully, "What's that?" As though in agony, Naruto hunched into a ball. Concerned for Naruto, the chef exclaimed, Hey, what's wrong?" "No, our ramen, I don't want to live anymore." Naruto sobbed softly, regretting that he would have to wait until he returned home to eat his favorite meal. Kurama remarked, "Humph, might as well let me eat you now, you little shit." After grabbing what was left, Naruto went to the table where his sensei was seated. He was a little perplexed when he arrived around Kakashi. Everyone was blushing a little, while some girls giggled with delight. Others had hearts bursting from their eyes. The men appeared a little uneasy. "What the hell?" Naruto pondered, then it dawned on him. He asked the girl next to him, "No way you got to see his face?" And she burst out laughing. Naruto turned back to face his sensei, who had finished eating. "What the hell, I'm gone for 30 seconds and I miss a once-in-a-lifetime chance," Naruto sighed. "Perhaps the next time," one trainee asked, "So where are you guys from?" Kakashi's response, "We're not inhabitants within your walls, I should say," greatly excited the trainees. "Whoa. No way. You're from the outside? What's it like out there?" he demanded. "Vast, wide, and free," Kakashi stated bluntly. For the next 10 minutes or so, trainees asked him sporadic questions about his background and personal life. The only people who haven't asked any questions yet are Annie, Bertholdt, Reiner, Jean, Sasha, Connie, Armin, and Mikasa. When Annie moved forward, everyone stopped to listen to what she had to say. She asked emotionlessly, "Are there more of you?" Between trainee and the elite shinobi, there was an agonizing silence. "Yes," he replied. "How many?" Kakashi appeared somewhat dejected, as though he had witnessed numerous deaths. She turned and left for her dorm after saying, "I see." Commander Erwin watched Kakashi from another nearby table while sipping his tea. Maybe he's the last of his kind. Before he took another sip of his tea, he pondered. After a very awkward silence, Connie asked, "So anyways, how do you do your magical thingies?" Everyone agreed that the question was a good one. Erwin himself would eventually ask that question. "With our chakra, of course," Naruto said, his mouth full of food. Everyone else was curious, so Connie asked, "Chakra? What's that?" Kakashi went on to explain, "It is basically the mixture of both spiritual and physical energy within a person. It enables us to pull off techniques, as we call them ninjutsu," to the excited murmurs of the trainees. One trainee asked, "Can we see some?" Naruto nodded in agreement, and Kakashi pointed to him. He exclaimed, "Kage Bushin no Jutsu," just before smoke burst around him, exposing 3 freshly created Naruto clones. While Erwin almost choked on his tea in awe of what he saw, the majority of the room's eyes widened. He read the reports, but aside from Kakashi's enigmatic disappearance, which still shocked him, he never witnessed it for himself. Humanity can undoubtedly benefit from such power. Sasha and Connie both yelled, "Wow!" as they seized and pinched every ligament and part of the Naruto clones, much to their disappointment. "Can you do the same with food?" Sasha exclaimed while gulping. "A number," Naruto replied, slightly disappointing her as she pinched a clone with too much force, causing him to scatter. "Not even a corpse is left behind when you get hurt, it just goes away," Erwin thought. Another random trainee was asked, "Can you do anything else?" Kakashi held out his hand. He said, "Anyone got a butter knife?" One of the trainees handed Kakashi the one he was eating with. A tiny crackle could have been heard a few seconds later. The small dull knife was soon covered in blue crackling lightning, and blue sparks began to shoot out of it. Although there were many oohs and ahs in the air, some people believed that such a minor matter was innocuous. One questioned skeptically, "What can that possibly do?" Many in the room were astounded when Kakashi pulled out his personal metal kunai and let the lightning-coated butter knife cut through the hard metal like a hot knife through butter. With these 4 on our side, the possibilities are endless. Erwin reflected, humanity will undoubtedly retaliate against them and Eren. The commander then rose and took a seat across from Kakashi. The men looked directly into each other's eyes, Kakashi's eye. Erwin said, "So tell me, who are you exactly? Start from the beginning, take as much time you need to explain." Kakashi let out a frustrated sigh, then he said, "Very well then." He said, We are ones who endure shinobis. I am Hitaki Kakashi, much to everyone's interest as they tried to figure out what a shinobi was. He said, I'll start from the beginning as far back as I know. Along with that, I shall tell you the story of my life, and then he inhaled deeply. It all started with the Sage of Six Paths. As he sat on the ghetto mazo, the rain splattered and patterned his partially broken mask. Since they are now stranded in his Kamui realm, Toby believed he had successfully captured the remaining Jinchurikis. He was certain of victory now. All he needed to do was wait for his accomplice. A spark appeared in the sky and was moving in his direction quickly. As said figure crashed rather destructively, Toby muttered, "Speak of the devil." A man wearing red shinobi battle armor emerged from the dust. His eyes, which had a purple ripple pattern, gazed down at Toby while his long, spiky mane blew in the light wind. Madara Uchiha was this person. The man said, a little bored, "Obito, I see you finished up here." Toby gave a nod. Madara formed his hands into a snake seal and said, "Okay, bring them out. We'll extract their bijus now." "Well, what are you waiting for him?" Madara watched Toby's eyes widen in disbelief. They're gone," exclaimed Toby, who was extremely disturbed by this revelation. Madara scowled. "Tell me what happened, humanity." They were a successful species that emerged, but they were also the biggest failure of their own time. Humans have always been at war with one another, even before the shinobi were created. But one day, a powerful creature known as the Jubi tore through the continents, consuming oceans and instantly destroying nations with its immense might. Mankind was already too embroiled in war to unite and stop the beast, and it was too late. In legends, he was considered the founder of all shinobi, teaching us his religion, which later became known as our ninja techniques we use today with our chakra. Until one man stood up against the great beast. All hope seemed lost. With the eyes of the samsara, he defeated the beast, sealing it within himself and bringing peace to humanity once more. Despite his godly status and abilities, the Sage of Six Paths was only human, but he was a man of peace who wished to save this world. As a result of his teachings, he has only served to further divide humanity. Kakashi continued his history lesson by saying, what he wanted to happen was the exact opposite. In awe of such a story, Erwin and the trainees listened carefully. Even though it all seemed so unbelievable, this is actual evidence that it did exist. So before the sage died, he split the Jubi within him into 9 different entities called the Bijus. From 1 to 9 tails, they eventually became weapons of war as they held great power. No man can ever achieve shifting the political balance greatly depending on how many Bijus one country had or not, Kakashi said during a political lecture. Years after the sage's passing, nations began instituting a single shinobi village system, which eventually gave rise to our modern society and structure. Naturally, that didn't end the conflict, though, because when one nation becomes too strong, others will unite to demonstrate their own advantages. Hatred is what started wars. Peace was an unachievable goal. Countries taking things from one another only causes more conflict. It is a never-ending cycle of hatred, he said. Because of this, 3 wars has sprouted and all ended the same. We could never come to an actual agreement. Ah, I see, so you 4 ran off from home to avoid the wars? Replied Erwin. Naruto blurted, no way. We're actually going to find a way back home. There's another war going on, to the commander. Another war? He asked, his eyes widening as a few trainees gasped collectively. Then why are you here? And what's the war about? Kakashi was aware that this would be a lengthy and challenging explanation. Abruptly, a thought occurred to me. His headband began to slide away from his left eye as he opened his scarred eye and revealed a blood-red gaze with 3 tomos. Everyone stared at him in curiosity. What is that? Many pondered as they continued to gaze into his mismatched eyes. Kakashi told everyone, all right, let's look into my left eye. It will be much easier to explain if you do that. Everyone obeyed and stared into that red swirling eye, not frightened or anything. The room began to distort and vanish, and their entire world began to warp around them. What black magic is this? Asked one of the trainees. You are all under the influence of my genjutsu from here on out. You will see for yourself the horrors of the battlefields. You too will have to experience this for yourself in the impending future, so be prepared, he said to everyone. They all reluctantly nodded, allowing the illusions to take control. After that, the landscape changed to an open field and a thick forest. People who had never been or seen anything outside these walls surveyed their surroundings, taking in the sights that they would hardly ever see while under Titan rule. Even though it was an illusion, only the small group of our favorite trainees, Reiner, Bertholdt, Connie, Sasha, Krista, Ymir, Jean, Armin, and Mikasa, remained aware of their surroundings. Erwin attempted to touch a tree but phased through it, assessing that he was intangible to everything in this world. So this is where they're from? That must then imply. The majority of the trainees continued to stroll around taking in the view, but their euphoria was cut short when something passed them or passed through their minds. The trainees saw a flash of metal this time, and it passed by them again with a whooshing sound. Thunk. As the trainees started to wonder what was happening, a large, oddly shaped knife embedded itself deep within a tree. The embedded blade started to sizzle and had a note with odd markings on its hilt. Boom. Debris was flying everywhere as an explosion engulfed their immediate surroundings. Well, as he waited to see what would happen next, Erwin thought, this must be it. Ruah was the war cry of an army that jumped out of the bushes in large numbers. Specifically, 400 men in all. Each person carried swords and those weird throwing knives that the trainees had never seen before. Each of the men wore a red undershirt with one long sleeve and a brown flak jacket with no sleeves as they charged toward the other side of the battlefield. Their ankles were covered by bandages or chainmail leggings. Kakashi described, this was Iwagakure's forces during the Third War, while the trainees could only observe as numerous men managed to get past them. Mikasa couldn't help but notice how much these men resembled her as she watched them run past her. Actually, not many of these men resembled the ones from home. She believed they had a more oriental vibe. Is there anything more from her almost extinct ancestry? To pique the trainees' interest in what would happen next, a platoon of rough-looking men remained behind and started going through a series of hand signals simultaneously. Abruptly, the men slammed their fists into the ground. A moment later, several giant rocks that were half as tall as the walls back home protruded from the ground, and there was a distant explosion. The trainees witnessed men literally take off and land lifelessly on Earth. The young trainees could only gaze in wonder at the power and devastation that so many men had accomplished, but their attention was drawn to something else. A man wearing a green flak jacket that looked exactly like Kakashi's leapt out of his hiding place in the middle of the charging men's advance. Stopping them all, the man stood in a relaxed stance, holding out several tri-pronged kunais in each hand. His blonde hair spiked almost everywhere. One Iwa soldier attempted to flee, screaming in terror, "Shit! It's Konoha's yellow flash. Make a run for it." One swore, "Shit shit shit. Come on, it's only one man. We are 400 strong. You idiot. Just run." As the majority of the men attempted to quickly flee, chaos broke out. Is it one man who is causing all of this chaos and fear? As he prepared to see what would come next, Erwin thought. The blonde stranger known as the Yellow Flash moved as soon as he finished thinking. Suddenly he flung his kunais into the mass of men fleeing. Armin said, "I can't possibly see what this man can do to such a large group of men with just some knives," and the trainees largely agreed. "Hey, what's he gonna do with such a small blade? Chase them all down and stab them to death?" Reiner chuckled. The trainees saw that the blonde man's knives missed most of the crowd, so they weren't really expecting the move to cause any harm, but the blonde man was already gone when they looked back at him. Kakashi said, "Watch closely, do not even blink for a second," as the trainees swallowed nervously. An Iwa soldier was slashed in the neck and was bleeding heavily when the first scream was heard. As they watched, the trainees wondered how the man arrived so quickly, but they kind of expected this in a moment. More men were cut down, and more screams were heard. This is just absurd. All they could see was a yellow flash zooming across the battlefield, instantly eliminating numerous men. The trainees continued to watch while the screams continued unabated. One man leveled an entire army, and for the next 15 seconds, the enemy numbers shrank to a few men. Pools of blood began to gather into a dark red stream, and bodies were scattered across the ground. Trainees observed men pathetically crawling toward their severed limbs or attempting to crawl away altogether. Shortly after they all passed away, the trainees began to feel a little queasy. Jean, unable to process the death toll in such a short period of time, exclaimed, "Heh, this is just madness." Out of the Iwa army, only 3 men remained. One Iwa soldier brandished a kunai and charged at the yellow flash, saying, "You bastard." As it entered the Iwa soldier's stomach, a recognizable swirling ball of blue materialized in the enigmatic man's hand. Rasengan. The Iwa soldier was launched through several trees and into a massive rock, where his body splattered into a pile of mush. Upon impact, he rolled his eyes back in agony and shock. The blonde man knelt down and kicked him in the face while also tagging the man's right foot, leaving a Hiraishin mark. The other Iwa soldier attempted to exploit the situation by attacking from behind, but was unsuccessful. As the Iwa soldier lunged forward for another devastating kick, the blonde man vanished and then reappeared behind him. The Iwa soldier was mercilessly beaten to death by an enemy he was unable to strike, and the same action persisted for 5 seconds, giving him no opportunity to defend himself. As the blonde turned around and glared at the final man, the man fell to the ground, dead. Armin exclaimed, "So fast!" In awe of such a cruel accomplishment. The last man standing caught the attention of every trainee. A lot of people thought, poor guy. The final man stood shakily in front of the yellow flash, fumbling with his katana. Erwin, who was standing next to the man, chose to examine him more closely because he knew he would not be hurt. Tears filled the Iwa soldier's eyes as he fell to his knees. Dropping his sword in despair, he was prepared to face his destiny. What will he do next? Erwin pondered before turning to face the yellow flash. With a kunai in hand, the blond man approached the distressed Iwa shinobi. The atmosphere became tense as the majority of the trainees gulped and perspired in fear of the terrible demise this man might endure. Before long, the blond man came up to the soldier and halted in front of him. His blue eyes seemed to be piercing the man as they looked deep within. Erwin could tell by the way he looked at the man that he understood what death and terror were. To slaughter hundreds of men in a matter of seconds, many people's blood was soaked into this man, a murderous device. When the yellow flash passed directly in front of the Iwa soldier, the tension reached its climax. The sobbing man stiffened as he raised his hands. The trainees grimaced as they anticipated his next move.
So that's it for today. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Don't forget to like, share and subscribe to the channel for more awesome stories like this. Thank you. See you all in my next video.